There I am. What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday. Happy New Year. I haven't seen you guys in forever. And of course, this is our first live stream of the new year. Not the first time I'm interacting with you. We had our Throppers Think Tank, what was it, 2 Saturdays ago, I believe, which was really awesome. It kind of was my baby step, getting my feet wet, getting back into the groove of doing this again. So happy to be here, happy to be back. Got a lot of exciting things to be talking about today. And we have our first sponsor of the year, which is really awesome, Suncoast Beach Club. You know, I speak about them all the time in St. Thomas, and we are going to get more into them, talk more about them a little bit later in the stream. Of course, you can see all of their contact information in the description below, and their website and telephone numbers on the screen. You can take a look, but we are definitely going to be talking more about them later. This is one of, my opinion, one of the great developments that are taking place in Jamaica, and especially in one of the most progressive and forward-moving parishes in Jamaica, St. Thomas, the quote-unquote forgotten parish. So excited to talk about them a little bit later, and really honored to have them as today's live stream sponsor. So shout outs to Suncoast Beach Club, and you can take a look at their website suncoastbeachclub.com, and their telephone number is there, 876-216-5454. And like I said, we are going to definitely hear a lot more about them a little bit later, but really beautiful, really beautiful development. I did a video on them. For those that don't know, might as well get into that. I did a video with them, I think it was February 2024, like a year ago, almost, well, not quite, but almost a year ago. I did a video with them, and it got a lot of insight into what they're doing and what that development means to that part of the island. I go ahead and throw that in the chat there. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Looking forward to talking about them, but thanking them once again for being today's live stream sponsor, Suncoast Beach Club. And in regards to our agenda, of course, we got to catch up. There's a lot to talk about. I've been gone almost like a month. I missed you guys, and happy to be doing this weekly again. And there's like so much exciting things that we're going to be doing with the channel. Sorry, I got this reflection on my sunglasses. Anyway, there's a lot of exciting things happening with the channel. Some of it I can't really talk about now, but it's like a really exciting year ahead, especially this next, I would say the next 6 months, 5.5, 6 months are going to be like just crazy in respect to the content and the production that we have going along. And of course, I'm going to be bringing each and every one of you along this journey. And it is, in many ways, I feel like it's moving in alignment with the direction that Jamaica is going and the exciting things that are happening. Still so much work to be done as a country, as a community, that you'll hear about shortly. And I'm excited to be a part of it all, you know, and I'm excited for the time that we're living in. And a lot of things happening in Jamaica, a lot of things happening globally. We have a new president in the United States and a whole lot happening there. We're not really going to get into that today, but at some point we will, because I think a lot of what's happening in the States is definitely going to affect Jamaica. I think it's also affecting Jamaicans in the United States as well. And from what I'm hearing, how they're thinking and looking at Jamaica as some sort of solution, if you will. And again, they're using this channel as a resource of information, which I think is fantastic. Really fantastic. Super proud that people are able to use the content that I have here, the guests that I have on the show, as a resource of information. And so we will be doing content along those lines, because you know, people are just, again, looking at Jamaica a little bit differently and feeling a little bit, you know, things just changed in the United States. There's a new administration going in a different in a different direction. So there's that means different things to different people. Let's put it that way. So let's do a quick catch up here before we get into today's topic, which is the meeting that I had with the Prime Minister on Friday. So afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. Of course, many familiar names here, and happy Sunday. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everybody had a great New Year celebration and a great Christmas. It's literally been that long. I was traveling for about 3 weeks through Southeast Asia, and I want to share my trip experience with you on that. I was in Bali, Thailand, Vietnam, and South Korea, and great trip overall. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. Jay Fitz, what's going on? Says hi, Throp and family. Welcome back, and I trust you are well rested from your holiday. I am. Thank you. Copeland Russell says hi, Throp. Happy New Year. Wishing New Year wishing from Florida. Thank you. Claudine, hello. Happy Sunday from rainy Cali. Sorry that it's raining over there. The weather is really nice here in Jamaica. Sorry to make you jealous, but it's not hot. Like, I love this time of year. It's very warm, don't get me wrong, but it's not like July, August, hot and humid and the sun beaming down on your face. I've been getting back into running, so the mornings are like just absolutely lovely, like really nice to train in. And we're getting this nice cool breeze. I was at breakfast this morning on the West End with my family, and we just had like this it's not like that still air, you know what I'm saying, that you get in the summertime. And it's just a really nice climate right now. And again, not to make you jealous, but just kind of giving you on the ground information of what's happening here. Gareth Jamrock says 47 watching, only 17 likes. Please hit the like and share, everyone. Yeah, definitely. That helps out a ton. Patricia, happy New Year from freezing Massachusetts. I'm sorry about that. Sorry to hear that it's so cold. Sherry Case, welcome back, Throp. Thank you. BRC Cleaning. Hey, everyone, happy Sunday. Suzette, what is going on? Hi, Throp and friends. Happy Sunday. Maureen chiming in from the UK, wet UK. Integrity Longevity, greetings to you as well. Paula McKenzie, hi, Throp. Happy New Year. Patrice, happy Sunday. Good afternoon from Amsterdam. Awesome. Ewan says, I don't trust Andrew Holness anymore. He is a liar. Good afternoon, Throp. Good afternoon to you as well. And of course, happy Sunday to you, Donna, giving us our first comment of the day. And essentially, I am good or bad, but good transition into today's topic. Thank you, Ewan. And we're gonna hop into it, which is a meeting that I had, not me personally, but the Negril Chamber of Commerce had with the Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, on Friday, and we talked about a ton of different topics. And I should get out my notes. And one of the main, like, it started out as initially a meeting that we were, I thought as a chamber and as a community, we were very organized going into this meeting and going into the sit down. But essentially, it was our opportunity as a community to talk about very specific challenges that we were having here in Negril. And we were, I think, smart to just keep it very short. And I've been to many of these meetings where people just talk. It's just a regurgitation of just like what one particular person wants, and they take over the meeting and they just go over what they care about, as opposed to, I think, what we did, kind of patting ourselves on the back here, is that we had a pre-meeting before. We discussed what are and we have a lot of challenges in the ground, tons of different things that we need to address and want to talk about and want to make a priority. And each one of those almost deserves its own meeting and its own attention. But we decided to just focus on 3 to 4 topics max. We designated a person per topic and asked a question, and just in a very, I thought, pragmatic way, brought it to the Prime Minister's attention, and and we're just seeing what we can do and try to rectify or remedy each one of those challenges. And the meeting, I would say the general vibe of the meeting was we were putting on our problem solving caps. Again, I've also been to many of these meetings where it's just people complaining, complaining, complaining. And I understand the frustration of a particular issue, but it's even in my organization, it's just like one of those things. It's like to bring up and address a problem is one thing, but you can't bring up a problem and not come up with a solution, a suggested solution, and not necessarily saying like that is going to be the remedy or the solution to whatever the problem is going to be. But it just, it's like, how committed are you to solving this problem, as opposed to taking this problem or whatever it is and putting it on this person or putting it on this body. It's like, hey, how can we brainstorm and put our minds together and really figure out and solve this issue, whatever that issue may be. And so, again, my sense or the vibe of the meeting is just like, how do we solve this problem? And I will also credit Negrillians is that we are also, I think we are very solution oriented and problem solving mindset always, because it's made up of a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses, and this is how we approach our businesses in day to day. Is like, we're not going to sit here and complain and be the victims of whatever situation it may be. What's the solution? So that's the vibe. And so one of the main issues that came up was the water challenges that we are having in Negril. Last year, this time, I mean, it's better. It's so far, it's better than it was last year. And so let me build a little bit of context here so everybody is on the same page. So last year was a water crisis like I've never seen before. If you've been around on the podcast, you know that last, man, was it January, February? I did, I think it was February. I did a live stream. It's like an emergency podcast broadcast talking about we're basically not having any water in the pipes, and literally all day, all night, water trucks zoom, zoom, zoom up and down the boulevard, up and down the West End, and unfortunately, it turned into a pay to play situation, and especially residents were disenfranchised and not having access to water. Immediate solutions were brought forth. We're alleviated. We made it out of the tourist season. Definitely not unscathed, but it was a challenging time. And so for us as a Negro community, is like, we don't want to go through that again, and we were seeing what can be done immediately to alleviate that. And so this is also, again, building a little bit of context here. This is also, what was it? A week after, maybe a week or a few days after the Minister Bartlett had announced a 200 and something $million US dollar water infrastructure investment for this region. Actually, let me bring that up because I think it's important that we are looking at this as holistic as possible. And there is, and with this, it's like this is like, and I'm living it, right? I'm here in the mix, and am a, not going to use the word victim, but I'm somebody as an individual and also as a business owner who is being adversely affected by not having consistent access to water. Well, we do now. I should say that. Like, but if you are particularly the deeper, and that was one of the things that we talked about, the deeper west that you go, that West End that is, the more challenging that it is, and it is very costly because it's not like we don't have any water. Period. It costs money to get access to these water trucks, so we have to pay a premium. It's just cost. Just when I say premium, I don't necessarily mean like, there's price gouging or anything like that. I'm not saying also that doesn't take place, but there's agreed upon price per water truck to come and deliver water to your residence, to your hotel, and it's our hotels and our residents were designed in a way for emergency use only. It's not supposed to be the way that we do business or the way that we live life. The expectation is that the city is going to provide water for us, and then we're going to have water in our pipes. But we've had to make adjustments. And the way I look at this is like there is this is a hopefully a short-term problem, but we need short-term solution and we need long-term solution. It needs to be addressed on both those fronts because it's not like I don't know. I mean, I don't want to use an analogy, but it's essential. It's water. Like you need water. I don't know how else to say it. So anyway, um the announcement was made on this is from the 23rd. Let me bring up this article. I think it's important to bring some hold on, bring some context here. Where is this article? Here we go. All right. So this announcement was made last week. Negril to get 221 million US dollar water supply system. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the resort town of Negril, which has been plagued by a perennial shortage of water, is to get a transformative $221 million US dollar water supply system early in 2025-2026 fiscal year. This, he says, should ensure a consistent and reliable supply of potable water. This is perhaps the biggest investment the government of Jamaica will make in water development, creating a system that will ensure adequate water supply for the West End and the surrounding areas, said Bartlett. According to a survey by the JHTA, Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association, Tourist Association, Negril chapter, the water crisis has affected future bookings for hotels and resorts in the popular township. More than 70% of accommodation providers reported that the water crisis impacted future bookings, and 100% of hoteliers said it affected them financially. By May last year, accommodation stakeholders in Negril, which straddles the parishes of Westmoreland and Hanover, said that they spent over $200 million on trucking water, which amounts to more than 50% of their usual cost. However, speaking at last weekend's opening of the Red Stripe experience at Rick's Cafe, Bartlett said that 24% of Jamaica's tourism earnings come from Negril. So the government is now giving back to Negril with a $221 million water supply system. Bartlett said the procurement process has begun and construction will start within 3 months. It will see Negril being connected with the water supply from Martha Brae in Trelawney to Great River in Hanover and Bulstrode and Roaring River in Westmoreland. In October, Savlamar's mayor, Danry Delancey, raised concerns about the water shortage in Negril and Westmoreland in general and urged the government to address the crisis. Amid outcry, the government in May last year announced a $24.8 billion resilience project to relieve the water woes in Negril and western parishes. The first phase of the program involves installing and replacing two main transmission pipelines from the Martha Brae water treatment plant to the terminal reservoir in St. James and from the Great River water treatment plant on the St. James Hanover border to Negril. The pre-engineering phase commenced at a cost of $32 million and was estimated to last 6 weeks before the full project rollout. So that is the long-term solution, right? And they seem to be moving quick, and it is, you know, it's great. It's great that this thing is moving forward, but it's like I understand people want something like right now. And one of the issues that sorry, not issues, one of the solutions that we brought up in the meeting with the prime minister was asking a question like, hey, what can be done now? And so we were promised 2 trucks that we would get, which it's better than nothing. And it's to help alleviate the financial pressure this is putting on us as a community, not just the business community, but especially the residents who live here. And it's just costing us, so like the article said, 50% more. There was one small hotel in particular that gave their specific numbers that they did on their accounting 2024, and they went up, I think, 53%, which is directly in line with what this article is saying. And so, that's significant for a small business. That's significant. And if it's one business, it's like everybody, everybody's going up 50%. And that just makes everything else cost that much more unnecessarily. And we of course want to solve this problem as quickly as possible. So that was one of the solutions that we came up with, which we're thankful for, and hopefully that hopefully that happens like this week, and those trucks are mobilized for this area this week, and that will help us out a little bit and kind of alleviate the costing. I mean, we'd love more trucks. We'd love an army of trucks coming from NWC. And the thing is, like, the thing with that is, like, we won't be paying that. That is going to be absorbed, and that was one of the promises that was given. And I said this before last year. If you're a guest, and this is speaking specifically to visitors coming to Jamaica, to visitors coming to Negril, if you come here and you visit here, you stay at Travelers, you stay at any well-run hotel, big or small in between, you're not going to know that there's a water situation going on. You're just not. These hotel operators are doing their utmost to ensure that their guests, our guests, are as comfortable as possible, and they're focused on their vacation and enjoying Jamaica and enjoying the grill. And I think we've done a great job in doing so. For the most part, of course, there's going to be exceptions, and of course, there's going to be anomalies, and we do our absolute best to ensure that happens. It's gotten to the point, and point out two points on this, but it's gotten to the point where some hotels, small and large, have gone to the extent of purchasing water trucks. And I said this last year. It's like, we are not in the business of water. We are not in the business of water trucks. But it's gotten to the point, and when you look at the cards that we have and you understand the problem, you understand what the solutions and how long these solutions are going to take, you're just like, all right, bet this is what it is. I got to do what I got to do to ensure that my business continues to move forward, and ensuring that my guests and the people who are visiting Jamaica and visiting my place are not disrupted in any sort of way. And they've gone to that extent to ensure that they have their own trucks, and they're not paying this exorbitant amount of again having a 50% increase on a utility cost. So they've done that. A lot of hotels have also like hotels that own properties on the beach side and on the Morass side have gone ahead and dug a trench to put the water pipeline across the street, so they can put their water harvesting system or their water storage system across the street. Because we're a small hotel, we're a small property on the beach side, we don't have any more space on this side to increase our water storage facility, so we're going across the street. And again, that is a pretty penny to do something like that. And I know a bunch of hotels that did that. We've gone ahead and done that, where we've paid, got the permit and everything like that, to literally cut a trench in the road and then be able to increase our water storage across the street, because we don't have any more space on this side. And again, we as a business owners and as entrepreneurs, hoteliers, we understand the cards that we're dealt. And you have to, we and in our minds, like, we have to do something. We have a responsibility to our guests, we have a responsibility to our community, and we have to do something. And this is not something that was in our budget in 2024 to do, and to increase. And again, we've been increasing our water storage with different tanks and things of that nature, but we've run out of space, so much so we have to go across the street. And so these are things that some hotels are going through at this time, and some businesses are going through at this time. But it's like one of those things. It's unfortunate, but we got to do what we got to do to survive and get to the point where this $221 million US investment, once that's up and running, great. But we are prepared. We are trying to be prepared as humanly possible, and hopefully our guests don't suffer any disruptions, or at least if there is, it's minimal, and it's short lived. So that's the water situation. You know, that's the water situation. And uh again, the West End is definitely feeling the brunt of this. There's no question about it. And as I mentioned, the deeper west that you go, the more severe that it is. And as Mr. Bartlett said, that there's going to be a high focus on on the West End, and that's where like so much potential is in the grill. Let me see if I can show the map here. Because there's just so much land there. So let's bring it out here. Let's go to here to Negril. So just so everybody knows, this is the 7 mile strip of the white sand beach along here. So this is the 5 mile and then 2 mile. And then we're gonna go downtown Negril. So this is the roundabout down here. And this is where's Travelers? I should know this. And here's Travelers right here. This is my family's hotel here, Travelers Beach Resort. And then we're not too far from downtown. This is a roundabout. And then we're going to go west end along the coastline, heading west. And sorry, this is past the lighthouse, past the Negril Lighthouse, is considered to be deep west end. So let's see if I can find the lighthouse, which is right here. So here's the lighthouse. So essentially, like past here, call this deep west end. And this is all west end. This is all deep west end here. Lots of land. It's fairly mountainous slash hilly. But you get city water in there. You pipe water there. Man, you really, really open up this area for heavy investment. But a lot of these places here that have been here that don't have water supply, or never, some places back there have never had water coming in from the city, coming in from NWC, and they've kind of just gotten used to that life and doing the trucking thing. But imagine like we have water supply all here. I mean, and this I want to kind of, you can't really tell from this satellite view, but let's see if we can use Jackie's, or maybe even West Ender End. Do they have a picture here? So the views, let's see here. The view here is like spectacular, like absolutely beautiful. And as I mentioned, it's hilly. And the more you go up these hills, and you can, imagine having houses there, or small retreat places. Like the views are amazing. The sunsets are gorgeous. Like these are the sunsets, and imagine just kind of going higher and higher and higher, and they're unobstructed. They're unobstructed views. Let's go up to High Life. So this is where I did my all white farewell party for Thropex 2024. And let's see if they have a view. So this is like, I believe this is one of the highest peaks, but it's not a head-on view, but you could kind of see the type of view that you get here on Deep West End. Just gorgeous. And then you're looking out to the sea, and then when you look back, you guys got the mountains. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I always say like it's like a different world back there in West End, and especially Deep West End. Super, super quiet, very intimate, controlled environment. You don't have the quote unquote hustle and bustle of the beach, and immense, immense, immense potential back here. And bringing direct water supply to this area would do absolute wonders, especially from like an investment point. And when you think about, and I don't know, we have a variety of different people in different situations who are chiming in here. But when you look at, say, the cost per acre or per square foot on the beach versus the West End, or particularly Deep West End, it's a fraction of the cost. It's a fraction of the cost. But you bring, obviously that will go up as more infrastructure investment happens in this area. And again, I think by doing so and making that huge investment with the water for the West End and for the Negril as a whole, it really is going to open up the doors of potential in terms of what the West End can be, and who invests there, and just almost creating a new neighborhood. The last thing I'll say on this, that there was a plan. This was when I first moved to Negril. there was a plan to develop the Deep West End. I've brought this up before. I forget the name of the developers, but essentially it was like a few hundred acres that they bought, and their plan was to this exact area that that I'm showing here, the exact area that I'm showing here. They were going to develop like the lion's share of like all this, and this is all Deep West End, like all here. They were going to develop it. They were going to have their own police station, their own fire station, hotels, residents, supermarkets, and it was going to be like this new Negril community that was, call it, 20 minutes away from downtown Negril or 20 minutes away from the beach. And it was spectacular. They saw what the potential of this area could be, and that potential is still there. And that project failed because of the financial crisis. Nobody knew what we were going through at that point in time, and that's the Palmyra was a victim to that as well. These are kind of like eyesores on Jamaica investment, but those were Palmyra aside. That was one of those projects that were meant to change Negril. And if the financial crisis didn't happen, perhaps we'd be talking about a very different topic here, and Negril would be in a very, very, very different place. But my point in bringing that up is that it just kind of shows you from an investment standpoint and the mindset of an investor that this particular investment group saw the vision, they saw the potential in the West End, they saw the potential in Negril, but unfortunately, due to global economic impacts, it just didn't happen. So anyway, that is the water situation. Let's go through some, before I get to the next topic that we talked about with the Prime Minister, let's just go through some comments here real quick, and we'll get on to the next topic. Jay Fitz says, Throp, has the phone service been restored to travelers? The unfortunate answer to that is no. Oh, my check. No. I did, for those who are unaware, I did I think it was the last live stream that I did, if not the last one of the last ones. I was talking about the last live stream. I'll throw it up here. And I spoke about, it's called the Jamaica service problem and what poor service is really costing Jamaica. And I talked about several different experiences, some lived experiences, some experiences that were shared with me in respect to poor service in Jamaica. And one of the experiences that I shared of my own is that of here at Travelers Beach Resort, and getting extremely, extremely poor service from Flow, which is one of two phone providers here in Jamaica. And our business landline that we've had for 30 something years just stopped working, and they have not helped us out at all. They can't even get in touch with them. Won't return, not calling, nothing, 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 nothing. And our phone line has been down for many, 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 many months now. And I can't, it's unfathomable the amount of business that we have lost because of that. And a phone line is the lifeline to any business. And even to this point right now, unfortunately, we don't have a phone line. And we thankfully there's Digicel, thankfully there's cell phones, thankfully there's email, thankfully there's social media. And so it and I always say, even to my team here, and when I was running the property, is when you can think about it from your own perspective, is when you're calling a hotel, or if you're picking up the phone and calling the hotel, and especially if you're on a budget and you're trying to find out prices, you're trying to find out, is there a deal, is there a discount, yada yada yada, you're going down a list of different hotels that you could potentially be staying at. And if one hotel in particular, their landline, their phone is not picking up, or they're not getting back to you, you're just like, well, okay, and you move on to the next one, and that's it. And so that, of course, has happened to us. How many times? I don't know. I have no idea. The amount of people that has called me or texted me or DM me or whatever and says, I'm trying to get through to your front desk, but I can't. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so sorry to keep going on about this, but it's a one of those very, very frustrating situations that we are shortly going to be moving on from. But To answer your question, and thank you for the question, Jay Fitz, I appreciate it. Yeah, no flow here, travelers, and they have literally no answer for us whatsoever. Nothing. Which it's just unbelievable to me in 2025 now that there is supposed to be a professionally ran company that is business friendly, allegedly, and they don't even have the courtesy to get back to us to this day. They just don't. And so, just like with the water situation, we as a business, we're not going to sit here and be victims. We're not going to sit here and just complain all day. We're going to do what we have to do, and that's what we're doing at this point. And we're moving on as business, and we're moving on as a company, and that's that. They lost a customer for life, and I think that's very silly of them, and their reputation is completely tarnished in my mind in a very unnecessary way. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Tell us what's going on. But anyway, that's them. Um, let's see. And N says, "Hey Throb, Happy New Year." So coincidentally, I sent you a DM this morning about the next live event. Haven't seen one in a while. Welcome back. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Charles Petgrave, welcome back, Throb, on a flight about to take off from JFK to Phoenix. Awesome. Good to hear from you, Charles. Safe flight and talk to you soon. Thanks for chiming in. Michael Wilson says, tuning in from the UK. Great work, Throb. Thank you. Linda, hi everyone. Greetings from Texas. Oh, and speaking of UK, I'm going to keep announcing this. I am doing, and we're going to probably talk more about this next live stream because we have a long agenda here today. But I'm doing the London Marathon, officially doing the London Marathon. It is April 27th, 2025. That's a Sunday. And so, the UK contingent, put it on your calendars. Please come out. It's going to be fun. And for those who are runners, we're probably going to do a shakeout run. I'm not sure who I'm going to collaborate with yet, but I do have running friends in the UK, in London, that I'm going to probably join them for a shakeout run the Saturday before, the day before, the 26th. So if you're a runner or you just want to come hang out and come on a very short and relaxed run with us on this Saturday, you're more than welcome to join. Would love to have you. Would love to meet you. And then in addition to that, I am going to be doing a meetup in the UK, and I don't have any information on that, but it's going to be the week after the marathon. So the week of the 27th, we're going to be doing a meetup somewhere in the UK, and I'm trying to figure out the logistics of it. It's going to be one of two things. It's going to either be a live podcast event, or it's just going to be a general meetup. Haven't figured out exactly which one. Still sourcing a venue and working and talking with a few people out there, a few business owners. And as soon as I have the information, I will let you know. But I just wanted to share the raw information and my intention for the London Marathon, which I'm very excited. That's going to be my fifth my fifth star in the 6-star World Marathon Major Challenge. And so I'm almost there. I'm almost there. So just so you know, I did New York, Boston, Chicago, Berlin, and then London will be my fifth, and my 6-star will be Tokyo. Hopefully 2026 I can get into Tokyo. It is the hardest race to get into if you're not a Japanese resident. And so hopefully I will make it into Tokyo, and I will finally get my 6-star after then. That will be literally spot on. I've been on this journey for 10 years trying to accomplish this goal. So I will keep you all informed on that. But looking forward to London Marathon 2025 and looking forward to the meetup event. All right. Let's see here. Noel Tully says, "Good afternoon, Thrive. Jamaica doesn't any more hotels. Jamaica doesn't any more hotels. What Jamaica doesn't need any more hotels. What Jamaica needs is more infrastructure developments, such as high-rise apartment buildings and condominium, high technology shops, restaurants." Great point, Noel. I think there is a lot of room for a lot more development in hotels. So I don't necessarily agree with you on that. And I'm saying this from the perspective of competing globally. And when you compare us and look at even us here in the Caribbean region, we need a lot more hotel rooms, and we are. And I'll get into this later when I start talking about my trip to Southeast Asia. Jamaica is like such a freaking special country. Like I can't begin to tell. And again, we're gonna get into it later. It is such a special country, and from a visitor tourist perspective, it's an experience that is unlike any other. And I think we are making the right decision as a country to continue to invest in our tourism and to continue to refine it. I think there is a lot more, even outside of hotel four walls and buildings and that sort of situation. I think there's a lot of refinement that can be done, specifically to really elevate especially the hotel workers more than anything else, but just the average Jamaican, and using tourism as the vehicle to allow us as a country to live better lives more than anything else. And I think the potential is there with tourism because we have just so many competitive advantages as a country, as a people. And I'm telling you, one of the biggest competitive advantages that we have is our people in such a big way. And I say that unapologetically. I say that very proudly. And like I said, we're going to get into that when I start sharing my Southeast Asia travel stories. But I do agree with you that we do need more housing. There's no question. We are not producing enough houses at the rate in which demand needs, or demand is saying it, right? And so I do think, the NHT is doing what is doing is doing a lot, as far as housing goes. Um, the prime minister is giving away a lot of, I should say, this administration, not necessarily the prime minister specifically, but the administration is doing a lot to get keys of homes into average Jamaicans' hands and affordable housing for people. But it is, when you do the math on it in terms of the amount of houses being produced on an annual basis versus the demand needed, it's just not cutting it, and it needs to be looked at a different way. And I said this before, one of the main challenges in doing housing development in Jamaica is the cost of doing these buildings. And when you're doing the math on it, and I had the math, but I don't have it in my head, unfortunately, but just bear with me. But when you look at the cost of building a home versus the cost of versus the how affordable it is for an average person, it's just it's a wide gap. It's a very, very wide gap, and to build a home, and I ask people, hey, what is affordable to you? Is it 5 million? Is it 6 million? Is it 12 million? And you get different variations. But to put up four walls in Jamaica with steel and wood, concrete, I mean, it's millions of dollars when you look at it, right? And I'm just like, man, how do we get the cost down? How do we get the cost down? And you also look at it, it's just like the price of everything is going up globally. And that's also one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, even in my travels. It's just like, it's just a different world. And I think mentally, perhaps us as a people, and I'm not saying like Jamaicans, I'm talking about like humans in general. I don't think our minds and how we look at money and the value of a dollar have actually caught up with how expensive the world has become in 2025. And it really, really is that you have to look at money differently. That's the only way that I can say it. It's just like, you can't look at least I don't right now, especially coming off these travels. Like, I don't look at money how I looked at it 20 years ago, when I was just coming out of college, or I don't look at it how I looked at it when I was a kid. It's just, everything is just so much more costly. And I just think you have to just be so much more conscious of how you spend your money, how you allocate your any sort of resources. I mean, I'm talking about mental, emotional resources, your time resources, your financial resources, of course. And because it's just a different world. And I think the people and individuals who don't understand that delta that has been created and are operating in even a 5 year ago, a 10 year ago mindset of what money is and how much you get for your dollar. Like those are the folks who are becoming very frustrated by what's going on in the increase in prices like across the board. And I know a lot of people say, why don't we just increase minimum wage? Why don't we increase wages? Because it's like, and I say this all the time, it's like you increase minimum wage or you increase wage without increasing productivity, it's just going to make everything more expensive. And we're going to continue to go down this route of everything continuing to be more expensive and the devaluation of the dollar. And to me, when I look at Jamaica specifically, is like one of the ways to circumvent this, and this is more of a long-term solution. This is not an overnight solution. It's like asking the question, how do we make the individual person more valuable to society? How do we allow them to become more, and I know it sounds like I'm like, am I looking at a person as a product? No, 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 no. Like we need to increase, like make our kids smarter, make our adults more educated, to have them have higher levels of skill and become more valuable to the market. And that way we can, when we produce more valuable services and more valuable goods, we get more revenue, and we have more taxes and we have more infrastructure, and that way it elevates our, hopefully our quality of life overall. And that is, to me, is like the question of the day, the question of the century, is just like, how do we invest in that way, in a real way, in education, and education. And I'm going off on a tangent here. Education is, of course, there's traditional school, but there's also like the community is just like so important in investing in our community and ensuring like our kids go to school for however many hours a day. Unfortunately, in some parts of Jamaica, these kids are only going to school for half the hours. And when you look at other countries and you look at the aggregate, the overall amount of time that their kids are spending in school and in that infrastructure compared to our scale, our students, the average is much lower. And it's just like the output that we're looking for is not matching up with the input that we have right now. Again, I'm going off on these tangents. I'm sorry. Let me try to bring it back here. So anyway, my point, and I'm just looking back at the question, which I totally forgot. My point here with the infrastructure of hotels, the infrastructure of housing, we need more housing. I think tourism is a great vehicle to push Jamaica forward financially and economically. But in my opinion, there are nuances even within that we can sort of exploit in a good way, because there are just so many unique and from a competitive advantage situation. We have a lot of competitive advantages here in Jamaica. All right, I do got to get to the second topic with the prime minister. Shauna, what's going on? 34 months you've been a channel member. Thank you so much. I appreciate your commitment and support to this channel and what we're doing here. Happy New Year to you as well, Shauna. All right. Let's see here. I know I opened up a whole can of worms with the minimum wage talk here, but let's see. Um, Mickey Faye says, "Are there people in Jamaica who would consider buying container homes that are already put together? Some of them are 30,000 US." I think so. Like, to me, conversations of this are so necessary, and the answer is yes. And that could be a way of getting these container homes. And I've looked into this immensely. Like, these homes are beautiful. These homes are really, really beautiful. They're modern. They're turnkey. You put them on a ship. You bring them in. You have the water and electricity set up. You hook it up. You're good to go. And so I know they're doing this um, in Jamaica, and there's companies that do this. But man, is there? Are we able to develop? And I know we got to go up. As a country, we need to build to the sky. I get that, but we are in a situation here. We are in a housing situation. Is there a developer or development that can be done that can do 100 container homes, right? Is that possible? Is there somebody who's thinking like this? And so 30,000 US dollars, that is, hold on one second. That is, let's call it 155. Let's call that 4.6 million Jamaican dollars. That's under $5 million for a home. Through, I'm going to mess this up. I think through NHT, you can get a loan of, somebody help me out with this. I think it's is it 6.7 million or 7.2 million? I might be getting that off. So it comes under, no matter what, it comes under that number, through the National Housing Trust. So the numbers work. The numbers work, but I haven't seen anybody like just like take that on, or developers like, hey, I'm doing a 200 unit development, all container homes, and we're going to sell them at 30K a pop, or whatever it is, and then work that developer work with the government to get whatever subsidies. Because like, to me also, along the solution oriented conversation that we're having here, is I think because of how expensive it is to do these developments, like especially with low income or affordable housing, going through the government with subsidies, I think it's like it has to be done that way, because it's just so expensive to build homes. It just really is. The cost of everything is sky high. So I think that is a viable solution, viable solution. Let's keep going here. Johnny Johnson says it doesn't really matter which government is in power, PNP versus JLP. If developers don't invite China, Africa, and diaspora and progressive whites like Elon Musk and Trump to invest, peoples will continue to suffer. Okay. Lindell McCormick says, Throp, you should be the PM. I don't know about that one. Definitely not. The country has great potential and possibilities that we are not making use of. Look at Trenchtown. Why is it a ghetto instead of a music city with a museum? Ray Gibson says, when it comes to money, it's all about value. We have to pay Jamaicans more for the work they do. It's a mindset about locations. For example, why is it expensive in New York and California? I mean, lots of reasons, but I get your point. Alfonso Worthrop, saw you and the Prime Minister made me burst out in a big smile, knowing how this program is coming, where this program is coming from. You know, I'm one of the grassroots supporters. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe. I could honestly, I couldn't believe that he uh, he watches. He tunes in, and he told me that. I was like, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty really awesome. So very honored, humbled by that for sure. And then thanks for the question about the container. No problem. 7.5. Thank you, Alfonso Ward. That's the NHT. You have access to 7.5 million. So that 30,000 falls under that threshold. So again, the numbers work. The numbers work. Brockman says it's amazing how people don't understand Babylon politics and think that they have an actual say in the matter. The Jones Plantation movies recommended for those with faith in governments. Thanks for the comment, Rockman. Let's keep going here. Zoe Simpson says, if you had 10 million US dollars to invest in Jamaica, how would you do it? To me, so I'll answer. Thank you for the question. I'll answer that two ways. So I would say if you're coming in from the US and I don't know you from Adam, it's to me look into whatever skill set that you have, whatever profession that you are in. Maybe you're a developer in Florida, and you can bring those skills here, and you start doing some sort of let's say a medium income housing development. Um, Maybe you're a hotelier and you want to come and buy a hotel on the beach for 10 million, which you can get. You know, you can get a hotel for half of that, as a matter of fact, here, and use your hotel international hotel skills to do that. And I think you can do very well. Um, Maybe you're in the medical field and you have a group of doctors or physical therapists that you work with. I always say I think that would do extremely well here in Negril, like an outpatient facility that's not a hospital, but it is more of a supportive medical unit in a way where people can go to. Even now, like I got to get my knee drained. After I got an MRI last year, I needed physical therapy. If there was a physical therapy facility there, that would be great. There are a lot of seniors who live in Negril. There are a lot of seniors who are retiring here, expats, and physical therapy. I am such an advocate for physical therapy. Even if you don't need it, you should be going to physical therapy because as we age, it's just, I always talk about functional fitness. It's just like one of those things, like as simple as it sounds, is like for the rest of your life, you want to be able to stand up and sit down in a seat. You want to be able to sit on the ground and get up. As simple as that sounds, like you want to be able to maintain your body to be able to do that. You want to be able to go on long walks, with your significant other, your children, and eventually your grandchildren. And you want to be able to do that forever. And then to me, in my mind, as humans, there's no reason why we can't have that when we think about the longevity of our lives, not only like how long we live, but also the quality of life that we live. And so I'm a huge advocate for physical therapy. And I think that as we age, this is like one of those things that if we can incorporate into our lifestyles, we can live long, healthy, and high quality lives as we move into our golden years, so to speak. And I think physical therapy is a good opportunity to do that. And so the second way that I'll answer that question is, and it depends on where you're looking. So right now, if we let's stick to real estate, for example, the hottest region I would say in Jamaica is the North Coast in what would I say? Like Drax Hall area. And that is like where like a lot of attention is going. And then even starting to move over into Montego Bay. And so do you want to be in the mix? $10 million you could do a lot with. Do you want to be someone that wants to be at the forefront of something and like coming to a place like Negril or going to St. Thomas and doing something out there? So I think there's a lot that you can do with $10 million. And I think it should be in something that you're familiar with, something that you know. And I remember, that's the last thing I'll say on this. When I was doing my MBA program at Babson, I sat next to this kid Mike, and all he used to do, like I sat with him throughout the entire summer, and all he used to do all the classes that we had, he was just trading. You saw his candlestick charts, you saw uh, what he was investing in. I was just like fascinated. Like you just obviously a super smart dude to be trading while we're also in our lectures. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, what kind of advice would you give me in terms of how I should start investing?" And he told me, he's like, the best thing, I was like, I can't tell you what to invest in. He's like, the best thing I could tell you is that you should invest in what you know. At the end of the day, that is the key to the game. Invest in what you know. And so if you have $10 million, it should be investing in a industry, in a market that you are familiar with. That's my best advice. This is not investment advice. This is general life advice that I am passing on, that I received from one of my classmates back in the day. And I think that's a good principle to invest by. Let's see a few more comments here, and then we're gonna get into the next one. Rowena Lawrence says, "I'm glad the tourism market is still accessible for locals. Our newbies wanting to start. All the Western worlds are doing is trying to stop their citizens from benefiting from tourism." I think we're moving in the opposite direction. Jamaica, I think the the tourism Jamaican tourism worker is at the forefront of a lot of these discussions. I think the Jamaican tourism hospitality business owner is at the forefront of these discussions. As much as we want foreign direct investment coming to Jamaica, there is this. And I talk about this all the time. It's so important that we do not get gentrified. And I'm saying this from the perspective as a Jamaican business owner, but I'm also saying it from the perspective of residents living in Jamaica. I would hate for that to happen in any way. And in the conversation and discussions that we had with the Prime Minister on Friday, that was one of the things that we talked about in terms of the future of Negril, the tax incentive, which we're going to talk about shortly. The tax incentives that's coming to this region is to ensuring that that doesn't happen. A gentrification. I forget the exact words that the Prime Minister used, but essentially it is, we do not want to disenfranchise our locally owned business owners. We're going to get into that because that was actually the question that I asked him. Um, and I see your second comment here, Rowena. I hope Negril doesn't end up like Miami. Precisely. We're going to get into that shortly. We're precisely. All right. So we talked about the water, which was one of the main issues that we brought up to the prime minister. The second thing that we talked about, I don't know if this might not be the exact order, but for argument's sake, the second thing that we talked about that was also very, very important to us was our morass. And so just want to make sure that we are all on the same page here. So allow me to bring up the map here. So what makes Negril's 7 Mile beach, white sand beach, might I add, so special is the fact that we have what is called, other words not coming, is what is known as the Great Morass. And this is the Great Morass here. This is an environmentally protected area. I don't know how many hundreds of acres this is, but this is an environmentally protected area, wetlands. And through some scientific ecosystem that I'm not going to get into right now, it basically allows us to have the white sand that we have here. And it's so important that this is maintained and this forever. And it is up to us as humans to ensure that it is maintained. And so one of the things that we have that has been on the books is the re-wetting of the morass. And if you remember last year around this time, we had great morass fires. And thinking about what's going on in California and LA, and very sorry that that's happening. But it definitely made us here in Negril think about what if something like that happened? Because there has been times where it's been so close. These fires have been so close to businesses and so close, like the smoke, literally, sometimes the ashes will be coming down even here at Travelers. And luckily, like the fires haven't come down this far, but there's no reason why it couldn't, and I think it's a Trinidad saying that goes, if your neighbor's house is on fire, you should pour water on yours, or something like that. Something to that effect. Essentially meaning that just because your neighbor's house is on fire doesn't mean that you shouldn't be proactive in helping put out your neighbor's fire, or preparing for your house, or hopefully not to be on fire, that your house cannot be also on fire. And so it could happen at anytime, anywhere. But one of the reasons why these fires happen in the Great Morass is because of of arid air, and so the dry air. And in order to avoid that, the morass needs to be re-wet. And there is currently funds that have been allocated to re-wet the morass. And the way I understand it is there are water inlets that are already somewhere. I think there are 7 of them, if I'm not mistaken. There are inlets somewhere in the Great Morass here that essentially needs to be opened up, and so that water can come into the Great Morass and wet itself. So there is essentially, it's kind of using nature to help itself. That's the way I understand it. I could be completely wrong and off scientifically, but that's essentially what we're looking to do. And very, very important part of Negril. I mean, without this, for the most part, there is no Negril, and it's not Negril that you know. So that was the second thing, and that was a promise to us that is going to be addressed and move forward. And he had contacted right on the spot via text the appropriate ministers to deal with that, and move forward. So we were very, very, very happy about that. So that was the second thing. That was a quick one, but it was important, very, very important to us. Shruti knows, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. I really, really appreciate you. And shout out to all the channel members and Patreon supporters. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. All of it helps us put this together and do what we do here on this channel. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you anybody else want to become a channel member, I would love to have you on. Or if you want to become a Throppers Think Tank member, which we have our monthly Zoom calls, you can go ahead and join us on Patreon at Throp. Would love to have you join the discussion. And then the last topic, I think, hold on, make sure I'm getting this right, which is I'm sure what everybody wants to talk about. The last topic is the roads, which I know is that was like the when I posted this, I think it was on Instagram. That was like the most commented thing that people wanted to hear. Hey, what about the roads? Dude, when are the roads being fixed? What's going on with that? I don't understand it. So it's an extremely frustrating thing here in Jamaica, here in the West, here in Negril for sure, is just not having good roads, and the roads being riddled with potholes. And so there so I'll say two things. Oh, and it's always long term and short term with these things, right? And so the first thing is that there is a lot of road patching happening in Jamaica as a whole. The Unfortunately, the drive from Montego Bay to Negril is terrible. But when I came in, I think I came in last Sunday, a lot of the potholes that I saw when I left, they were patched and they were being patched. So there's a lot happening with that. So kudos to the team for making that happen. But there is, and part of the discussion with the prime minister. So sorry, let's stick with potholes here. So part of the discussion was understanding the longevity or the lifespan of roads, right? And essentially, you're looking at, I think he said 15-year lifespan. So at the end of the day, like, I felt the way he explained it was like he gets it, is that these roads need to be resurfaced. They don't need to be patched. And that is the problem. They need to be resurfaced. And the lifespan of these roads they just, a lot of them are just, it's just over. A lot of it is just over. And they need to be resurfaced. And there is a plan. I I don't know if this is true, but I explained before that, and I hope I'm not gonna get anybody in trouble here. Let me I don't want to say the person's name because I don't want to get them in trouble. So, from what I understand, there is a plan to resurface the entire boulevard of Negril, pretty much from downtown Negril all the way up to, I believe, just past couple swept away. So I would assume, let's call it past beaches, and they're going to resurface the whole road. Another thing I heard, which I hope isn't true, this is kind of getting off the roads, is that they are going to be moving the medians in the middle of the roads. I'm not sure if we can see this here. Hold on. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this here. This is in front of travelers. We have a median here. So basically, this is supposed to be a crosswalk. And the thinking behind this is that the median here narrows the road. And so when a car is, say, coming from downtown and they kind of hit this corner, they see the road ahead and they see it's narrow. The idea is that the car slows down because it's narrow. And that has been happening. And I can tell you, I can't tell you how many lives this has saved. And the reason why I'm making this point is because they want to replace these mediums with traffic lights, which don't work half the time in the grill. I think they're a bad idea, honestly. But these medians have saved many lives. Before they came, we used to, and this is no lie, there would probably be, I would say, 3 to 4 deaths per year in this vicinity between Call it between these are road fatalities. Call it between Coral Sea, Coral Seas right here, and going up just past Negril Beach Club. It was a death zone, straight up death zone, because you have like a slight S curve coming in from the north, and then you have one coming in from the south. And right here on the straightaway is where the S curves come in. And so what was happening is that people, especially people who didn't know the road, they would come in speeding, and then they would turn that corner and not understand what they were going to be encountering, and they lose control of the car, and they'd either kill themselves or they'd kill somebody. Unfortunately, I think this was 2008. We had a Lashana Lawrence, and we lost her. She lost her life. She was just finishing up her internship here at Travelers. She walked outside of our exit gate. A guy who is not from the area hold on one second. Sorry, I think my camera died. One second, everybody. I'm gonna change the battery real quick. Let me see if I can. Let me put on a video real quick. I don't know how that happened. This is getting back into it. These little things that wouldn't normally happen are happening. Let's see here. One second, I'll be right back.
손을 놓지는 못해 울어버리면 현실이 될까봐 참아보지만 같은 공간 속 서로 혼자인 채로 결국 눈을 마주보지 않는 우리 남이 됐겠지. 차라리 미련과 익숙함 사이 그 어딘가 쓸쓸한 이 정적도 견뎌야만 하겠지. 이별도 사랑의 책임이니까.
그런 말 하지마. 내게도 쉬운 일은 아냐. 빠듯한 현실의 무게가 버겁고 낯설어. 마지막 나의 배려가 어쩐지 상처만 주는 것 같아. 같은 공간 속 서로 혼자인 채로 결국 눈을 마주보지 않는 우리 남이 됐겠지. 차라리 미워하면 차라리 미워지기를. 미련과 익숙함 사이 그 어딘가 쓸쓸한 이 정적도 견뎌야만 하겠지. 이별도 사랑의 책임이니까. 혼자인 채로 결국 눈을 마주보지 않는 우리 남이 됐겠지. 차라리 미워하면 차라리 미워지기를. 미련과 익숙함 사이 쓸쓸한 이 정적도 견뎌야만 하겠지. 이별도 사랑의 책임이니까.
Go. Oh. All right, we are back. Sorry about that. I was plugged in, but the cord didn't work. So anyway, I was talking about LaShawn and the intern, and yeah, unfortunately, she lost her life, and this was before we had these medians. And I can tell you, I only since we had these medians that I was showing you right here. I mean, virtually down to zero. I'm not saying accidents don't happen, but when I think about fatalities, um, I mean, we're virtually down to like almost nothing at this point, which is just crazy. And this is coming from like the perspective. Sorry. This is coming from like the perspective of me being in my office and just hearing tires screech, and then just the worst sound of plastic and metal just crunching and coming together, and running outside, and you just don't know what you're going to be looking at and what the situation is going to be when you go outside. And this was just such a unfortunately like normal part of life in being in the grill and in being here at Travelers. And I can tell you, it hardened me. It really did, and it made me, unfortunately, really good at emergency situations, because it's everybody else is in a panic, and there's this person there or persons there that are fighting for their life, and you are the one who's able to just kind of have a sense of calm, and you need to be that person, you know. And sometimes you, and many times I have been forced to be that person in these very traumatic and awful situations, and I've unfortunately had to go through so many of them. Some people we've saved their lives, some people we haven't. And this is just like, you know, I'm no medical person, I wasn't trained to do this, but this was just one of the norms of living in the grill back then. And I could tell you again, these medians, they have saved so many lives. I was talking with another hotelier on Friday at this meeting after the meeting was over, and we were saying the same thing. We were just like, it's unbelievable what they have done for Negril. Like, completely changed the pedestrian safety, the driver safety in Negril, because those accidents have gone way down. And then same thing, and I know people hate these. I know the taxi drivers hate these. Same thing with the what do you call those? The bumps. Oh man, I forget. The basic oh there are these are like they're not speed bumps, but they're basically they slow you down. They're all over scattered throughout Norman Valley Boulevard. But again, countless lives these mechanisms have saved. Oh, didn't put on the screen. But here, these right here, they're countless lives these things have saved. Countless lives. And if we had a society of more responsible drivers, perhaps, but humans are going to be humans, and Jamaicans drive the way Jamaicans drive, and so there needs to be mechanisms put in place to circumvent or curb that sort of reckless behavior in these drivers, and again, save so many lives. So I would hate for them to go away, and with potholes, of course, the kind of getting back to our discussion is like those are also dangerous. Yes, they really mess up our cars, and it doesn't make for a comfortable drive. It slows down traffic. We could get from Montego Bay to Negril a lot faster if we had smooth roads. But it's also a danger to society. It's a danger to pedestrians. It's a danger to drivers, and we want to get them patched or resurfaced, as I was saying, as quickly as possible. So, these are the things that are coming, and that are, I wouldn't even say coming, they are happening. They're happening right now. Of course, we would love for it to happen tomorrow. We love for it to happen yesterday. But one thing I've learned about being here is just like patience, 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 advocate, patience, patience, patience. And it's just like one of those things. This is like we just have to do our best as individuals or as bodies, like the Negril Chamber of Commerce, to advocate, lobby for ourselves, and lobby for things that are quintessential and that are, I would say, cornerstones of changes, or cornerstones of increasing the quality of life for many people. And these are the topics that we thought were extremely important. So those are the three main topics that we talked about. We got into and so I would say subtopic that with the roads is one thing we were talking about was the Montego Bay bypass, or I would Montego Bay bypass, but I would say the highway from Montego Bay to Negril, and we got into that discussion. So the I don't know if everybody's aware, but there is a bypass that has been created that is ahead of schedule. That is, let me just pull it up on the map. That's probably the easiest thing. That is in Montego Bay, which will allow you to basically skip all of downtown Montego Bay. This is probably alone going to save 20 to 30 minutes on your drive coming to Negril, depending on how long the road is. I don't know how long it is. So anyway, I'm almost certain this is it. I'm trying to see where the outlet is. I think it's here. So I don't know I know somebody's going to quote me on this, so I just want to be careful here. So I'm almost certain this is the road. I'm almost fairly certain. I'm like, what else could it possibly be? But anyway, let's go inlet outlet. That's what I'm confident in, what I know. And so if you are aware, when you come into Montego Bay, I know somebody's talking about the drive from Negril to Montego Bay. When you fly into Montego Bay, normally when you come out the airport, you're going to make a right, and you're going to either take top road or bottom road. Bottom road is when you go through where like Margaritaville is, the hip strip, the casino, I forget the name of it. And you go through bottom road, you go past Dump Up Beach, you go past Harmony Park, you come down this way, and so that's the bottom road. Top road is actually can't even think of. I know that school is there, but anyway, you end up, whether you're taking bottom road or top road, you end up kind of at this intersection. Where is it? Top or bottom? Like right here. Like, so essentially like right by Harmony Park, right? And so then you come down Howard Cook Boulevard or Howard Cook Highway. and you come down here, and then over here is Freeport. And so this is where Hard Rock is, where Secrets is, Houseboat, great restaurant. Haven't been there in years. Love it here. We'll talk about that some other day. But great restaurant in Montego Bay. And so anyway, you're not going to go down that way. But then you come down, Bogue Road here. So Bogue is where ATL Automotive is, ATL Appliance Traders is, and then after that, you make your way to Negril, and you come to Negril. So the idea is that with the new road, highway, bypass, not sure what you want to call it, is that you skip all of that. You skip everything that I just said, excuse me. And so instead of making that right out the airport, you're going to be making a left. And so you're going to be making a left. And again, please don't quote me. I think this is it. I'm not 100% sure. If somebody knows different, please say something. But essentially, you're going to come through the mountains. And this is proper downtown Montego Bay. I think is it Court Street? I just know I hate going into this. Barnett Street. Yeah, that's it. Oh my gosh. Wow. You want to give yourself a headache, go there to do business. It is just ram-packed, a lot of traffic. You're only going to go there if you have to go there for something specific. So anyway, you skip all of this. How long this is going to take you, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there are people who are watching this live stream either on the replay or watching it here live who have landed at the wrong time, let's say, and you are in rush hour traffic in Montego Bay, and sometimes it'll take you an hour to get out of Montego Bay, or close to an hour, just sitting in traffic, because you just got out your flight the wrong time, I tell you. And I've been victim to that, right? And so that will no longer be the case. And I think that's huge. From what I understand, from what the Prime Minister says, is that they are way ahead of schedule. And supposedly May of this year, which would be amazing, supposedly, but we'll see. But it's something that I know I'm very much looking forward to. Beyond that, now comes the question is how and when, and I say how because that came up as a, sorry, 1 second here. Because that came up as a question in terms of, it's supposed to be a highway, but let's call it right now. Let's call it bypass, because there are certain towns that need to be bypassed. And I'm sorry to be just focusing so much on Negril, but this is the discussion that we're having today. And so there are some key bottlenecks along the journey to Negril from Montego Bay. One of them is Hopewell. Another one is Lucy. One that is becoming another one is Sandy Bay. Where are we? Is Sandy Bay here. And the biggest one without question is Lucy. My goodness, just horrendous. And the question becomes, what's the route that we're going to take? And one of the discussions that we had is, hey, could there be a bridge from this end to this end? Because this is the problem right here. This is Lucy. So you go past Grand Palladium. I think a lot of people know where Grand Palladium is. And then you kind of got to go take the coastline around this bay. And the issue here is just the road is bad, like especially when you kind of go along the seawall, but it's like really a mismanagement of this perimeter, so to speak. And you go there on a delivery day, you're just going to be sitting there. Also, inclement weather, torrential downpours, the water goes over the seawall, makes this impassable. So there's a lot wrong with this. And so one of the ideas is like, hey, what if we do a bridge? But Prime Minister says, looking at a bridge going across here, it'll ruin the view, which I agree with. You want to keep it natural. So I think what's going to happen, or at least where the discussions and what was, I think, a decision I'd like to say is it's going to go through the mountains and go through the country, which I think makes the most sense. Really, really does make the most sense. And I think that's what's going to happen. And so we'll be bypassing all these little towns. And, this whole thing, this is probably 10 years. And like I said before, it's just patience, 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 advocate, 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 patience, 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 lobby, lobby, lobby. And so that's kind of where we are with the road situation. Jay Fitz says, is the bypass going to be a toll road? The tolls can cover the ongoing cost of maintenance and resurfacing. It pays for itself. The Prime Minister said he doesn't want it to be a toll road. I think it should be a toll road. I personally think it should definitely be a toll road. Or if the whole thing isn't a toll road, there should be a portion that's a toll road. My personal opinion. Because you're right, there it needs to be paid for, and there needs to be resurfacing plan. Like as this is done, as the bypass that we just talked about on Montego Bay, as it's completed, there should be a plan in place that in 2040, this whole thing is going to be resurfaced, or 2045, whatever it is. The whole thing is going to be resurfaced. There's a plan to, put money aside as we lead up to that year. Of course, there's some sort of maintenance programming in place already to do patching as the road naturally deteriorates, as it will. However, 2040, 2045, there's a plan. We're doing the whole thing over again. So we don't, and like moving forward, like all of our roads should have this plan, this mechanism, this trigger in place that is automatic, that everybody signs off on. And like, this is how we run our country, kind of thing. Justin says, I was in traffic so long on the bottom road. I had time to eat all all the chicken and festival I bought at Pork Pit Restaurant and I was driving. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hopefully that soon will become a thing of the past and we no longer have to worry about that. All right. And then kind of the last thing I'll say on this conversation, and then we'll get into my trip a little bit. The last thing I'll say is I had the opportunity to ask the Prime Minister about I use the word special economic zone that for Negril, but we haven't been designated as a special economic zone. And so I think I said that before, so I want to make clear that I was corrected on that by the Prime Minister when I asked my question. And so what it is, and so my question was really asking him, what does that mean for Negril? And what does that mean for investors? And kind of I wanted to get a general understanding of what he sees the vision is for Negril. And so I just remembered the other thing that we talked about, but it's in line with what I'm about to talk about here. And so one of the topics, let's start with special economic. No, let's start with the topic. So one of the topics the last topic that we brought up was the fruit and vegetable market. Very, very important. And so let me bring up the map here again. It is a map day here on the Throp channel. So downtown Negril, we have, so this is the roundabout here, so everybody's familiar. And then we're going east. And this is the fire station road, fire station, police station, bus park, and then here, man, I kind of get these. This is no here. This is the fruit and vegetable market here, and so this area, the money, the funds, everything has been allocated for this. And because of bureaucracy and, in my opinion, silliness, it just hasn't moved forward. And so one of the things that we discussed with the Prime Minister was letting him know that it is in the hands of this particular agency. And we asked him if he could kindly give him not a fist, a nudge. Kindly give him a nudge on moving this project forward, because it is so important to our community to have a fruit and vegetable market. The RADA, I forget the acronym, I'm so sorry, from farmers. And that remains to be true here now. And there are so many visitors, we'll start off with visitors and residents, right? And there's so many visitors who love taking a walk downtown. And unfortunately, our farmers market is, I mean, if you've been there, the road is horrendous. It is the worst road. Let me see if I can show you here is let's see. This is it right here. You can't see how bad it is, but it's not paved. It's mall, it's rocky, it's terrible. But people still go there. Tourists still go there, and they've developed a relationship with the vendors that they have there. And in our minds as a community, like, these vendors deserve a proper farmers market. So that's the vendors, excuse me, that's the current uh farmers, the current market, fruit and vegetable market in the grill, and also and how tourists interact with it. And they go there. I go there as well. But it's one of those things that's annoying to go to because the road is narrow, the road is bad. I have to do a U-turn. It's just inconvenient, but it's the only thing that we have here. And then from a business owner's perspective, a hotel's perspective, is like, every hotel, we always have an emergency. Like, we ran out of lettuce, we ran out of this, we ran out of that. And it would be so much better for us to go to the market, to go to a market that's reliable, that's easy to get to, easily accessible. I could park, go get what we need to get, and come back to my vehicle and go on about my business, and make it easier for us to support local vendors and support local farmers. And then also it will give us a space to do the farmers market. And then with our residents, of course, they want a proper market that they can go to, that they can do their fruit and vegetable shopping, as opposed to going to your grocery store, which is obviously going to charge a premium. It's far more expensive to get your fruit and vegetables from, I'm not going to name names, but different grocery stores, and it would be much more affordable for everybody if we had a proper farmers market. And I think we would be getting more directly from farmers, particularly in St. Elizabeth, to deliver this produce on a daily basis. So it's one of those things that will help us tremendously as a community. It will also become, I think, a community hotspot, so to speak, and it becomes like another social space. I think with the plans that are already drawn up, with the plans that are already approved, with the plans that already have money allocated to it. So really looking forward to that. Getting back to the discussion with the prime minister and the tax incentives, let's call it that. And let's not call it a special economic zone, but the allocated tax incentives for Negril. And so the what I say, the 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 general context of this incentive is there are a few facets to it, right? And one of them is to get more investors to come to Negril, foreign or domestic. We want more investors coming to Negril, and in doing so, and in building out, or trying to incentivize the build out of Negril, the prime minister made sure, like, and this legislation is in process right now, and they're coming up with it, and they're going to be announcing it relatively soon. And he told us that with that, he wants to ensure that Negril maintains its charm. And somebody said earlier in the comments, we don't want Negril to become a Miami. Totally agree. And I think it's so important, especially, again, we're going to get into my trip shortly. I can't tell you how important it is to maintain who we are as a people. I can't tell you how important it is to maintain our culture, our way of life, and to maintain the low density that Negril is. And it can easily, without proper management, it can mushroom into something that we will have never expected, and we could create a monster, so to speak. And I visited a monster in my travels and going to Bali, which we'll get into. And we don't want, trust me, we do not want that to happen. And second to that, in potentially creating a monster or turning this into a Miami, which I think we agree that we do not want the Negril that we know and love to turn into that, is that we also don't want to disenfranchise the business owners who are here and the ones who help build Negril, right? And that is locally owned Jamaican hotels, especially that is hotels and businesses that have been in Jamaica in Negril 20, 30, 50 years, maybe beyond, and supporting and building this community. We don't want there to be, say, tax incentives that are only available for new investors or for foreign investors that make it completely uncompetitive for us who have been here for 30, 40, 50 years, locally owned properties as well. And that is how gentrification happens, right? And you become uncompetitive because you are a victim of your own commitment and loyalty to your community and to your country, in that you don't have access to the same incentives and the same competitive advantage of these newcomers and new players coming into the system. And so the prime minister was very explicit in saying and ensuring that as this tax incentive is built out, that is not the case. And I think that is so important. And it's these nuanced decisions and nuanced recognition of what could potentially happen, learning from other cities and other societies where their mistakes happen, and how, in my opinion, how some of these cities and perhaps even countries lost their way in developing and sometimes overdeveloping their societies, and focusing on foreign direct investment, and focusing on just turning in. And I know there needs to be innovation. I know there needs to be progress. I know we want to turn into a modern society, which I do believe we will. But my opinion, my strong opinion, it cannot be at the sacrifice of our culture. It cannot be at the sacrifice of who we are as a people. It cannot be at the sacrifice of people and families and businesses who've been here for decades and decades. And again, the ones who have really built the community. And so, absolutely going to continue to advocate for that. But it was great to hear that is the foundation, and that is the fundamental a fundamental aspect of the tax incentive, or of the, can't use economic zone, but the economic incentives that are coming along to help incentivize development of Negril, which we all are looking forward to. That being said, there is also a lot coming. I'll bring it back to Negril as well in terms of the different projects that are coming on board here. But there is also a lot coming that is not traditional Negril, and that will be outside the original. And when I say original Negril, I'm talking about the 7 mile strip, of the White Sand Beach, and the 7 or so miles on the west end. And so, as you get further outside of Negril, there are going to be huge investments. There are huge investments that are going to be very different from traditional Negril. And I personally have no issue with that whatsoever. I believe the Princess Hotel is a good example of that, of what is to come and what's going to happen. And that's both on the, say, commercial hospitality investment side of things, and then also in terms of residents that are coming. And if you look at, let's zoom out a little bit. If you look at Princess, so Princess Hotel here, this is Princess Hotel, which opened last year. They are, I think they're about half open. Don't quote me on this in terms of the amount of rooms that they have. I think they open 1,000 rooms, for what I understand. It is essentially the largest, the biggest hotel in all of Jamaica in terms of room count. I think there are about 2,000 rooms, from what I understand. And from the northern part of Negril, let's call it about a 15 to 20-minute drive, right? And as we look at the map here, what I believe is going to happen is that all of this is going to be considered Negril. All of this. I don't necessarily agree with that, because this is Negril, in my mind. But Negril is such a strong brand. It's such a strong brand that, and places like companies like Princess know this. They're calling this Negril. Even Grand Palladium has referred to itself, even on its, and from what I understand, their website and social media, as Negril. And people, I've met people, they say they're staying in Negril. I was like, "We're in Negril." It's like Grand Palladium. I was like, "No, that's Lucy. That is not Negril." But it just goes to show you how strong of a brand name Negril has. And so anyway, the the uh the investments, there are investments that are coming that are not going to be falling in line with the low density 4 stories, or that's also probably going to be changing too, in even Negril proper here. And there are, and I get it, I understand it, that there may be an investor is like, hey, I want to put up a 20-story building, 10-story building, 15-story building, whatever it is. We don't want that in Negril. We don't want that in Negril. We don't want that you're laying on the beach here and there is a shadow over where you're trying to sunbathe. We don't want that. We don't want that. Or where you're walking, there's a shadow that's going into the sea because there is this 20-story tower. That's not Negril. And that is, to me, would be an example of us giving away who we are. It's important to understand that when people travel the world, they're looking for something very specific. Many times, they're looking for something very, very specific. And they don't want to go to places that is the same as the other place. Why would I go from, even so I was in Seoul, and Seoul is a beautiful city, but it's a first world city. Yes, it's modern and everything, like, but it's a city. Like, in many respects, it's like the same as going to New York City, or Miami, or wherever. Like, there's a lot of tall buildings, nice roads, cool cars, but it's a city. And you don't want to, like, everywhere you go, it's like the same experience that you're going to experience. And you want to go to places that continue to maintain its charm, continue to maintain its character, its culture, and sometimes even making certain decisions when it comes to infrastructure and decisions on types of investments that are allowed in a specific area. You lose that culture. Look at Paris, for example. And I know there's a lot of controversy with this as well, because they themselves are also having a housing crisis. But in Paris, I don't know exactly what it is, but there is a there is a development order, for lack of a better term. I don't know what term that they use, but you are not allowed to build past X height. And because of that, like, you can't be, imagine you had buildings that were taller than the Eiffel Tower in Paris. That would completely ruin their landscape. But they've sticking with their tradition, and it very much plays. And I don't know how many people been to Paris. Some people hate Paris, but I love Paris. I love the architecture. I love the walkability of the city, and the feeling that it gives you in knowing that, say, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, like, people were walking these same streets with these same buildings at the same height with the Eiffel Tower. I could be off on 100 years, but you understand what I'm saying. Completely understand what I'm saying. And as the world moves forward, and they're going to continue to be ultra modern cities, people are going to want to just kind of get back to the grassroots of what it is to experience Negril, what it is to experience Jamaica. And we don't necessarily, I'm not, you know, we don't want flying cars here. We don't want 20-story buildings here. And I think that's going to be that's going to be a huge competitive advantage, in terms of being a place to live, a place to raise your children, a place to come visit. So anyway, that was the kind of update on the tax incentives that's coming to this area. The other thing that I'll say is, some of the projects I know we talked about. Some of these we already know about. So we talked about the fruit and vegetable market. Our beach park downtown is going to be it's we should have got, now that I think about it, I wish we got a timeline on that, because it's just been sitting there for years and years and years. Anyway, we're going to get our beach park refurbished, and then also we're getting an eco park. So I don't know how many people knows Royal Palm Reserves, which is unfortunately closed down here. So this is what I understand is going to be the Echo Park. Excuse me. So as we go, we're going downtown. We're heading east, and we're going to Sheffield. Let's see. Hopefully, I can find it here. This is so bad. This is Sheffield. Where is the Royal Palm Reserve? Oh, I feel like this is it. I could be totally off here. Anyway, the Royal Palm Reserve was it was a tourist attraction that we had, and you were essentially able to go into the Great Morass. And as I mentioned before and earlier on this stream, that the Great Morass, which is here, is an environmentally protected area. This whole area, like you cannot develop, like we need it for our very, very precious ecosystem that we have here in Negril. And the Royal Palm Reserve was a tourist attraction. I'm trying to find it here. Where essentially you can walk into the Great Morass. There was a boardwalk there. And one of the greatest attractions was the palm trees and the Royal Palm Reserve, as the name says, but also the birds. Like bird watchers used to love this place. And there are like, I don't know how many indigenous species of bird that you can't find anywhere in the world, kind of thing. And that is also what's being invested, part of the investment of this area in Negril here. All right. So I see, Scott the man, you raise a good question here. And so gotta be careful of how I say certain things. So Scott the man asks, what's Negril's governance structure? Is there a mayor and a council? Who's in charge of local government there? So therein lies the problem with Negril. And that is we span 2 parishes. And this was also discussed in the meeting, being a great challenge in Negril. And in order, and this has been my belief for a long time, in order for Negril to really reach its full potential, it has to, at some point in time, become in charge of its own future and become its own municipality of some form, some form. It has to. The challenge is, and the prime minister explained this to us, is that it spans. The unfortunate thing about Negril is it spans across 2 parishes. And from a political standpoint, that is dangerous because it's like, which vote is going to, like, say if Negril became its own municipality, right? It's like, all right, you're in Negril and we're it's our own municipality, but you vote in Westmoreland. Well, who does the vote go to, right? And so that lies the problem. And there isn't a solution for it right now, but I think what's going to have to happen is they're going to have to create special legislation for us as a community. Like, I don't know how it's going to be done. I don't have any insight. I have no insight into what the path is, but that is the path, or that is the obstacle that has to be addressed as we go down this path. And I don't see a way of us really just being in charge of our own destiny here. I don't see a path without overcoming that. Really, just plain and simple. I believe the prime minister also recognizes that as well. But eventually, especially we bring in the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett. He said at the Red Stripe opening is that Negril brings in, I think he said 24% of the tourism dollars to Jamaica, which is crazy. Little old Negril, little 7-mile, 14-mile Negril. Like, that's a disproportionate amount of money, disproportionate amount of revenue that we're bringing in. Give us some gasoline here. And so, and when I say gasoline, that is like, give us the investments that we need to reach our full potential. We got the airport. Prime Minister briefly touched on that as well. I think that's going to be a game changer. We can save that discussion for another time. But point is, eventually, we do want to have our own mayor. We do want to have at some point a town manager. It's in charge of sanitation. It would be great if we had a tax office downtown. That sort of thing. We have our own police station, our own fire station. Great. Um, Instead of going to court in Savlamar or in Lucy, we can go to court downtown Negril. It would just make life so much easier and make doing business here so much easier. I think it would also attract just a plethora of different types of people. I think it would attract more families as well, which we need to grow our society. So yeah, that's coming. I think that's coming. And no, I will not be running for mayor of Negril and not doing politics. I said that millions of times. Like, no way, no way, no way. I think I have far more impact here in the private sector and what we're doing here in this community and on this channel for sure. All right. King Naldo, what's going on? Hi, says hi, Throp. Long time. I keep saying Negril needs municipality status with an elected mayor to deal with the localized issues that affect Negril, not Westmoreland and Hanover as a whole. Yes, I agree. This is my exact point. It can't continue like this, especially as we continue to grow. I think frustration is going to continue to grow more and more and more, like when we don't have direct representation for like us as a community. And we're just still continue to be caught in the middle. Trust me, it's so much better than it was when I first moved here in 2006. Way better communication, way better understanding of our needs. Our representatives are much more involved, and it's better. It's just not where it needs to be and not where it should be. So great point. All right, I'm gonna take a quick second break. Oh, God, hold on. We got some new channel members here. Virginia, I forgot to say thank you. Virginia Slim, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate you. And thank you once again to all our channel members. I appreciate you all. We're going to take a quick break here. And then I really want to get into my travels. Like, I'm sharing my travels, but I did learn so much. And that's the beauty of travel, is like when you go to especially like a new place, or perhaps revisiting a place that you haven't seen in a while, and you see the development that happened there, you come back with just a different perspective. And I certainly did, and I'm excited to share with you these different perspectives. Let's see. Let's go with what are we gonna do here? Let's go with travelers. Let's go with travelers, and you can take a look at this is an old one, but we'll be back in a few minutes. We are doing a semi-quick walkthrough of travelers. This is our welcome home sign. Whether you came here for the first time or you've been here many times, it's always welcome home. Here is the lobby. Then the front desk is over there. And if you play the piano, you can play the baby grand piano here. And we just put this lobby bar here, which we haven't began using, but it kind of turned into a makeshift tour desk. And here is the meat office, Negril Education Environment Trust. This is my family's nonprofit organization. And yes, we are also part of the Rotary Club, Negril Rotary Club. Okay, moving on. So we're stepping into the garden area here. And here on the left is the bungalows. This is actually the first room category that my dad started with. Started with 3 of these and then slowly built it up to the property that it is today. So this actually used to be a jungle before my dad started this, and he started from scratch. So up here above the lobby, these are our suites and deluxe rooms. And then over here is the superior rooms. They're grafted mangoes and they're really good. And then over there is our standard block. And going down the bungalow path here, we We're doing a little construction here. This is one of our bungalows. Give you guys a sneak peek. Hope this is dry. Okay, it is. All right, just a little quick sneak peek. Brought the ceilings up. Well, got AC. That's it. Not even gonna explain the concept, but I'll just give you a quick look-see on what we're doing here. All right, I don't know if I was supposed to show you that or not, but that is that. Okay, moving on. Keep going towards the beach. I'm not sure if you can see that from here, but that's the direction that we're heading in. And then over on the right, morning. All right, and over on the right is the pool area. Let's see if we can walk across. Hope I'm not moving too fast here, but no gimbal or anything. This is just with my phone. And this is a pool, has a bar, swimmer bar, which we open, I think they're opening it today as a matter of fact. And that's the waterfall. And then under the waterfall is a grotto, so little cave-like thingy that's cool. It's not too far, not too deep of a pool, I should say. So no diving. Then moving on, oh, sorry, I gotta walk back across. And then over here on the left, we got our gym. We just repainted it. So we got treadmill, we got techno gym weights, if you know about weights. These are top of the line stuff. Super proud of that. Elliptical, pull up, chin up, dip bar, squat rack. We got 2 exercise benches and bench press and a bunch of different plates. And there's me. Let's keep this moving. And then here we got the family room. It's kind of a place if you want to come chill out, want to read, hang out with the family. And then here we have like a map. And so every guest that we've had here, if you're from anywhere here that hasn't been scratched off, then you can come and just scratch it off. So we've had people from all over the States, all over Europe, Russia, China, Australia, New Zealand, people from all over the world, travelers. Oh, Madagascar, different places in Africa, pretty cool. No one from Iceland and Greenland. That's surprising. I feel like we have had that, but maybe they didn't scratch it off. And then if you're just coming for the day, we have a shower here, and you can use this as a changing room, shower up, and go on about your day. So this is the family room. Play chess, you can do that as well. I like that from time to time. And then here's the bar and the restaurant, and of course the beach. Then we have our dive shop here, but I don't think anybody's diving. But come here, get certified scuba if you want to. I've been diving with these guys a few times. And then we have canoes and paddle boards as well if you want to get out there, and the glass bottom boat. So that's the dive shop's glass bottom boat right out there. Hello everyone, thanks for joining the tour today, and we're going to be taking a look at the newly renovated bungalows, or otherwise now known as the cottages, which we've gone through about half of them so far. And we're looking at cottages number 4 and 8 at this time, and this is just a view of the balcony. We changed the entrance from being in the middle, and so if you are familiar with the property, there used to be an entrance for 2 rooms in one of these bungalow housing structures, and now each bungalow, each room has their own entrance to the side and a little bit more privacy as well, because we split the balconies. So you don't necessarily have to talk to the neighbor if you don't want to, but you can of course go around if you would like. And moving into the room itself, these are brand new beds and frames and new design with the throw pillows and the standard pillows in the back there. And then you can also see the kitchenette unit that we renovated, and we'll get to in a second. Also, we added a working desk with a charging station, so you have USB and also Type-C there as well, right below the television. And that's for anybody who wants to get some work done, especially those work from home people. And this is a wider view of the room, and I just want to make note of the AC, because these used to be fan cooled rooms, and now we got rid of the louver windows, and so now it's completely sealed up, if you will, with, as far as the windows go, brand new windows. And also want to bring attention to the ceilings. So the ceilings used to be flat, and now we brought them up to an apex to give a little bit more room and make it feel a little bit more spacious, but still maintain the coziness. And also bringing some more attention to the far right corner of the kitchenette that we have, and we'll get to that in a second, and also the newly renovated bathroom. So we basically gutted this entire place. Even the floor tiles are brand new as well. And this is another angle of the bed, and just want to bring some attention to the LED bed frame, as well as the embedded nightstands and lamps, and another view of the kitchenette, I should say. And as you can see, it has basically all the utensils and tools that you might need to cook a meal. Included is a mini fridge there down on the left, and a hot plate, coffee maker, ice bucket, all the knives and utensils that you may need to feed a small family. Not necessarily Thanksgiving dinner, but you can definitely chef it up in there, especially if you're staying for an extended period of time. This might be a perfect type of accommodation for you. And that essentially is the kitchen. And now moving on to the bathroom. And as I mentioned before, like floor to ceiling, new floor tiles, new ceiling tiles. We got the LED frame around the mirror to give a little bit more lights. We changed out the square louver windows for the ship window, I guess you can call it. And we got the rainfall shower head and the glass frame shower door. Even the towel holders, those are all new. And again, trying to bring together everything in the room, the kitchenette, and to complete the cottage experience, if you will. So very happy and proud of how this was done, and really wanted to give a modern look and feel to this new room category, the cottage. And so also with this wider angle, want to bring attention to the closet. So you got some drawer space there, and you got some hanging space as well, and your safe, of course, and the ironing board is on the other side in between the closet and the window there. And yeah, another angle of the room, and also want to bring attention to that long standing mirror there, so full frame mirror. And that essentially is the bungalow, and this is kind of our way of paying homage to my dad and where he started from with this hotel, Travelers Beach Resort. Started right with one bungalow and grew to the 60-room resort that Travelers Beach Resort is now. And my dad hasn't seen it as yet physically. I think he's seen pictures and everything like that. So just want to share this renovation with you all. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. So back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, we are back. Thank you for sticking with me here. Refreshed, ready to go, ready for the second half here. And of course, if you haven't already, if you haven't hit that like button, please do. It helps out a tremendous amount. And if you know anybody that could benefit from this discussion, please feel free to share it with them. So wrapping up the last segment, I'll go with Zan's comment here. He says, Remember that there is a development order and legislation has to be made in order for the new Negril to come to life. It's a bit difficult when you think about it, about making Negril its own municipality. Excuse me. Remember that it's serviced by 2 parishes, and they have not decided how that works. Agreed. I think it's extremely difficult. I think it's not going to be easy. I don't think so at all. It's like which parish would want to let go of Negril? You know what I'm saying? Like who would want to let go of Negril? In any respect, in any respect, you know, are they going to chop Negril in half? Which it doesn't make any sense at all. Um, but something to think about. I don't know how it's going to be worked out, but I will say like the work has to start. You know, we need to continue to have conversations, discussions. We need to counsel one another, inform one another, and make it the best decision possible. But again, from a leadership standpoint, a centralized leadership standpoint, I don't know how this community moves forward in the way that it needs to without being centralized and without being unified. I think most especially with the projects that are in the pipeline and the investment that is in the pipeline and investment and even further investment that is going to be encouraged once the incentive protocol is announced and is put out there. So yes. So anyway, let's move on to our next topic, which is hold on one second here, which is my trip. But it definitely happy to share my trip and my experience, but it definitely comes back to Negril, and it comes back to Jamaica in a real way. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, which is Suncoast Beach Club, and I mentioned them before. If you're unfamiliar with Suncoast Beach Club, they are, I would say, the development in St. Thomas, and I worked with them before and did a video with them almost a year ago. At this point, it was in February, and I want to just play the beginning of that video because I think it says a lot about where it's almost like we're literally on the opposite side of the islands, you know, them being in St. Thomas all the way in the east and us being here in Westmoreland, Hanover, all the way in the west. And there's a lot of parallels to be drawn from that. And yeah, like you know, I really appreciate them being a sponsor and the first sponsor for the live streams this year. So thank you to Suncoast. And I think it's an incredible opportunity as a development. And I just want to play this video for you real quick. I know some of you have already seen this, but we're just gonna watch the beginning. If I can get me out the way, there we go. We're just gonna watch the beginning of the video, and you get an idea of the type of development that this is.
St. Thomas is no longer forgotten. St. Thomas is now in the forefront of the minds of not just the people, but of investors.
To be classed as the forgotten parish, this is something that helps people never forget you again.
There's literally hardly any land for sale now in St. Thomas.
Now you're 12 minutes to Kingston. By the time you get on the highway and drive, you're 7 minutes to Harbour Beach.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be great for the people of St. Thomas.
The longer you wait, the price is going to take us.
Jamaica is at its inflection point where the rate of change is going to happen very rapidly.
All right, that is Suncoast Beach Club, and I want to take you to their. I know a lot of people have been asking me like, "Hey, where should I invest?" Somebody asked me like, if I had $10 million, what do you recommend that I invest in? But there's a lot going on in Jamaica, not just here in Negril, all over the island, and to me, this is one of those opportunities that exist. And this is the brochure. And if you have any if you have any questions or you want any further information, please go to their website, suncoastbeachclub.com, and that's their phone number. And this kind of gives you a good idea of what their layout is like. What you're seeing here with the ocean, that is like on the ocean front, that is phase 2. Go to the video that I just showed. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the comment section to make it a little bit easier for you. And where I end the video is actually where, like, we had a really nice sunset, and that is phase 2. And it has a lot of amenities there. Let's see, hold on, a lot of amenities there: tennis court, basketball court, community center, townhome. This is the layout of everything right here. Super ultra modern townhomes as well, duplexes, and tons of amenities, as I mentioned before. And it's just this one of these, to me, like, it's doing a lot for St. Thomas without question, as mentioned in the intro video there, that St. Thomas is considered, quote unquote, the forgotten parish. And in many ways, like, this development is the tip of the spear of investing in that area. And to me, it takes a lot of bravery to do something of this nature in a parish that it is known as the forgotten parish, and it's doing so much for the residents of that parish. And I remember, I don't think it's in the video, but I remember when I was there shooting the video and I was talking to different people, the landowners in the surrounding areas. And remember, these lands have probably been in families for generations. And that's changing the life of this family, and and I'm specifically talking about the appreciation of the land value. And so this is and that's the other thing. I'm just seeing it here. It's 20 minutes from Norman Manley International Airport, very, very close to the airport. So there's a lot of conveniences for being in that area. The pricing is right here for a townhouse, and I encourage you, to reach out to them to ask any questions that you may have for the townhouses. You can see the pricing here, going from 420,000 up to 580,000 US dollars that we're speaking. These are the rates in terms of the payment structure, I should say, more than anything else. And I would definitely encourage you to reach out to them, get in touch if this is something that you might be interested in. And Kevin is a really good guy. He's been on the podcast. He's on the podcast once, and he's been on the live stream twice. I've included those in the links below. So if you're interested at all, you can check them out below. I made them easy for you. They're in the description, so you can go through it yourself. And if you want to learn not only more about, and I think this is important when you look at these developments and any sort of investment, I think it's very, very important to look at the leadership and understand who the leadership is, what they're bringing to the table, what their vision is. And there's an extensive amount of information with the library that I've created in the content, and sitting down with Kevin and asking him very straightforward and direct questions about his development and his vision. And you get that in those videos. So I'd encourage you to click those in the link before if you want more information on Suncoast and on the leadership there. And of course, you can take a look at their website at suncoastbeachclub.com. It's right there on your screen. And the phone number is 876-216-5454. So thank you once again, Suncoast, for being today's sponsor for our live stream here. All right. Getting into the vacay now. This is like the fun part of today's stream, and kind of gives you an idea of my life. I would say I was out there for like 3 weeks. So I started in, and I guess this is the main thing. So just so you know, I did Bali. Hold on, I'm trying to think of the order. I did Bali, Thailand, Vietnam, and then I closed out in South Korea and Seoul. And so I went to, and so let's talk about Bali for a second. And And by the way, I'm doing vlogs on all of these. I documented the entire trip. Cannot wait to share them with you all. I'm working on them as we speak. And these vlogs are going to be ridiculous. Like it's going to be so awesome. Like when I look at like what's already out there and things that people have done on these different destinations. Anyway, it's going to be great. Looking forward to it and sharing my journey with you, so to speak. So on this channel, I've always talked about Bali in extremely, extremely high regard. If you've been here for the last few years, you know that. And I always said the three main meccas of digital nomads globally are Tulum, Bali, sorry, not Tulum, are Colombia, Bali, and Thailand. Like in respect to you being able to pay third world prices with a first world experience, a first world lifestyle. And that has always been the incentive for those three locations. So in Colombia, it was either Medellin or Bogota. Thailand was Bangkok, Phuket, Chiang Mai, like everywhere, all over. And then Bali was the island of Bali, which is Indonesia. And the main draw to these places was that you were paying these extremely, extremely cheap prices compared to like the Western society in New York, Miami, anywhere in America, let's say. And you were getting this phenomenal first world lifestyle at a fraction of the cost. Essentially, you could not live the lifestyle in these countries in your home country. And I always thought and looked at these places, and sorry, and one more point on that before I move on, is that not only are you paying a fraction of the cost of living at these places, is like the infrastructure that they have in these places are that of your cities, many cities in the United States and around the world in these first world countries, and also the amenities that go with it. And I'm talking about nice roads, state-of-the-art gym facilities, different community clubs, 3, 4, 5-star restaurants, again, for a fraction of the cost. And not only the food that you're getting, the service that you're receiving and going to these restaurants, the entertainment, and that goes for like what I say, even like Broadway type shows, nightlife, clubs, bars. You're paying a fraction of the cost, but you're getting, again, the same experience, in a sense, the same level of experience that you'd be getting in, say, New York City, or in your hometown that you're coming from, the big city that you might be coming from. And so this was me kind of putting these places on this pedestal and saying, like, why can't Negril be like this? Why can't Jamaica be like this? Why can't we put ourselves in a position to be like that? And over the last 3 years, I've been fortunate enough to visit all 3 places. So I was able to visit Colombia last year. I did Thailand in 2018, but I didn't have this mindset that I have, and I wasn't looking at it from that perspective. But I was able to visit it on this trip, and I was also finally able to visit Bali. And Bali was the number one. So Bali was at the top of the list, and it was this influencer heaven in a sense. And many of the people who have inspired me to start this channel, as a matter of fact, they either call Bali their home now, or at some point during their influencer YouTuber career, they had called Bali in their home for an extended period of time. And it was because of all these great things that I told you that attracted them there. And my excitement for going to Bali before I got there was extremely high. My expectations were high, lots and lots of hype, especially from the influencer community. And I was just like, I can't wait to get there, and I've been wanting to go to Bali for at least, I want to say close to at least 10 years. Bali has been on my list to go to and experience, and I finally was able to go there. And I was also looking at it from the perspective of like, oh, I'm gonna learn so much that I can bring back to Jamaica, that I can bring back to Negril, and we're gonna just it'll plant a seed, for things to come and things that we can look forward to because they're so far ahead, quote unquote. And I gotta tell you, I have never, and this is the true, and I'm not saying this to bash Bali at all, but this is just my experience. It's like I've never been to a place and have been so disappointed. And I'm not saying Bali is a terrible place, not at all. I'm saying it's just not for me. I think what happened is that the Bali that I had in my mind was Bali from 10 years ago in terms of the experience that I was looking for. And what has happened is it's just become completely westernized. At least the place that I was staying at. I stayed in Seminyak and we went to Kanju a couple of times, and I believe we went to Ubud. Yeah, we did a day trip to Ubud. And it is just overly westernized. I've never been to a place that wasn't west. Maybe Tulum is close to that, but even Tulum has maintained some semblance of an identity. But outside of that, I've never been to a place that was not in the West that has become so completely westernized and really taken over by Australians and Russians, like completely. And I was having this discussion with my brother, and I was telling when I was in South Korea, which is on the last leg of my trip, and I was just like, "Oh my god, it would be so terrible if this happened to Jamaica." And we went through our discussion. And it's just like highly doubt something like this nature would happen to Jamaica. And and I know people even in this community and in this chat who've gone to Bali and had their eat, pray, love experience, and it's been beautiful and life changing. And I think there was a lot of people who went there for that. But the area that we stayed in, it was not eat, pray, love. I'll tell you that. It was so commercial. It was so Western. Um, and then the last part I'll say on this, before I get into more specifics, is they have this thing called Bali Belly, and essentially is like you get sick, and it's just kind of one of the rite of passages to go in there. And trust me, I did not think I was gonna get sick. I've been all over Africa. I've been to Haiti. I've been to Mexico, with the whole Montezuma's revenge and yada yada yada. And I never got sick when I traveled. And my goodness, when we were good for and my whole team, I went with two of my best friends. They also got very sick as well. I've never been this sick in my life I shouldn't, that's not true. When I say sick, this sick in my life, it really was talking about the violent vomiting that I went through. It was like a movie. It was like The Exorcist. I've never thrown up that violently in my entire life. It was horrendous. And on top of everything I just said, it's just like, why would people come here for this? Why would people knowingly come here and they're gonna get sick? And it was just horrible. And it was just like one of those things, like the night that it happened to me was just like, I just kept telling myself, like, just make it to sunlight, just make it to the night, make it through the night, make it through the night. And thankfully, that was like the worst day for me. But it took my stomach like a week to get back to baseline, to get back to normal. I was able to function. I never missed a day of touring or going out and exploring, thankfully. But that was a really, really horrible experience that I wasn't expecting. And we were safe. I think two mistakes that we made was the ice. We had ice in our drink, so I think that's where we could have messed up because we were doing bottled water throughout the entire stay. And then I also understand now is that seafood is one of the kind of one of the worst things that you can eat in terms of like parasites and bacteria. Like it's just one of those types of food that like it attracts that sort of thing. And you shouldn't eat. I also understand like you shouldn't eat any fruits that you can't peel. I believe that's a rule, but we're eating all sorts of fruits. So do we take some accountability, some responsibility? Sure, but whatever. I'm not. I don't want to go through that again. It definitely wasn't worth it. And so getting into some specifics and especially comparing to, to Jamaica and to what Negril, when I think about the potential of Negril, and especially when I had the mindset of comparing Negril and what we could be, and could be the next Bali or some version of Bali, I'm like, no way. The other thing was the traffic, absolutely horrendous. I wish I could show you some videos. Let me see if I can. I mean, it's gonna be too hard. I can't. It's gonna be too difficult. I wish I had it brought up, but you'll see. And when I come out with a vlog and stuff like that, it is crazy. It is just overpopulated, and it's just like everybody gets around on these the mopeds, the scooters, and even with the scooters, we at first we didn't want to take scooters because the other thing that we understood was there are a lot of moped scooter accidents, and you see tourists walking around like all bandaged up and everything like that. We're like, we're not doing it. We're just gonna take taxis everywhere. But the taxis, you're just sitting there. You're sitting there in traffic, and your best bet is the mopeds, is the scooters. So we started doing those. The taxis, we didn't rent them or anything like that. So we met our taxi driver. I don't even know how we just randomly met him on the street. Kind of like what happens in Jamaica. You randomly met this taxi driver in the street, like coming home. I think it was one of the first nights we were coming home from our night out, and we didn't know where we were. We were just very far from where we were living, and this guy, again, people are gonna try and hustle you, so we just thought this guy was just trying to hustle us, which he was trying to make a few dollars, and if we need a ride home. But he ended up being Gilfin, that's his name. He ended up being a really, really cool dude. And if I ever do go back to Bali, like, he's gonna be the first person I call, and he's gonna reach out. He's gonna be in the video as well, so you guys will meet him when I put that vlog out. But we started using him everywhere we went. He was our guy. But when we kind of understood what the traffic situation was, we were like, nah, we got to switch this to mopeds. We got to switch this to scooters. And even with the scooters, you're just sitting there in traffic, like crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm just like, how do people put up with this? How do they like live like this? Like, this is just insane, 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 insane. And so that was one thing that like threw me off. The restaurants were good. The restaurants were good. I love the modern design of the restaurants. They had very good baked goods like croissants, breakfasts, because it's so catered to Western. It's specifically Australia, and I don't know if you know, like, Australians are big on breakfast, and they have brekkie, and that's what they call it, brekkie. And their breakfast is very good, very good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And that's something that we look forward to. Another thing that is phenomenally excellent is the coffee. It's really, 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 really good coffee. Like, spectacularly good coffee. Not just like, I'm a black coffee drinker, no sugar, nothing. And I didn't have it there. I went with the lattes, the cappuccinos, because they do it so well. And I've said this before, especially when I came back from my Africa trip. One of the main judgments, if you will, or parameters, litmus tests, if you will, that I use when I visit a country or our town in understanding how much or how well do they cater to Western society is, do they have oat milk? Do you have oat milk? And of course, every single place I went to had oat milk. And that just told me. And Jamaica, we're not there. We are not there. If you go to many coffee shops in Jamaica, you can get oat, almond, soy. For the most part, you can. But not when you come to not when you go to hotels. It's not that widespread. Many hotels won't have oat milk. We don't even have oat milk. We have almond milk. We have soy milk. We have cow's milk, of course, but we don't have oat milk. And so that is my test. That is always my test. And they had oat milk everywhere. So coffee, super positive. Um, what other positives that they have? They had like, I don't know if you know, like 7-Elevens are just huge in Asian countries. Like they are everywhere. And they're just like, it's just super convenient, like having these 7-Eleven marts everywhere. So that was also good. Massages are just everywhere. I mean, literally, there will probably be sometimes like 10 massage places on the spot. You can get like a massage for like $3 or something like that. Like crazy, 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 crazy. Right there, like everywhere you go. Like that's just like always a big thing there. So that was like kind of like a regular part of our day, which was cool. Um, the other, sorry to go to the negative, but like so positive the negative. They also have like beach clubs. I think like that's their main thing as far as like especially like daytime entertainment. And I think this is a straw we could take out of their hat and put it in ours, so to speak. Is they have tons and tons of these day parties or day clubs. And I think I'm almost certain it was the off season, which is crazy because it was that crowded, so crowded. But you go to these different beach clubs and you pay like you have to pay like say $300, like that's the minimum spend, and you get like a day bed, and you have to use that money to buy your food and your drinks, sort of thing. So that is kind of like their normal culture, if you will. Like everywhere we went was like that. And it was cool, like these day clubs, beach clubs, whatever you want to call them, ultra modern, great service, people super super nice. I think that's the other part, like the people there ridiculously nice, extremely, extremely, extremely nice people. And that was cool. But that's when I got sick, eating food from there. I know it was that salmon. So unfortunately about one I will say, and this is me talking about the beach. One I'll say is like it's very hard to compete with the Caribbean as far as the beaches go. It's like this is nothing like it. There's nothing like, and especially somebody who lives on a beach and being in Jamaica, this is nothing like it. And so it's hard for me to look, not that I don't appreciate the beach or anything like that, but it's just way better here in Jamaica. Anyway, the unfortunate thing about at least the beaches that we went to is just they were just so dirty. They were so dirty. Really, really, really sad to see. Just tons and tons of just litter everywhere, like plastic bottles, and it was just dirty. It was like they just don't maintain it. I was like, "Yo, this is nasty, yo. This is real nasty." And I was just like, and I remember like on the place I actually got sick. I wanted to go. Well, I wasn't allowed to walk out on the beach anyway, but I asked them, "Are we allowed to go swimming?" And they were like, "No, it's too dangerous." Like one of the waves, but then also it's like dirty. Like and it just is what it is. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I do see the appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand why people love an area like that or Bali, especially like if you're a young person. Maybe I'm too old. I'm 40 years old. And maybe that sort of lifestyle, and it was definitely it's a young person's haven for sure, for the most part, like what I saw. And maybe I just like outgrown something like that, and I really wanted to love it. And it's just one of those things. And maybe I built it up too much in my mind. And I could tell you, kind of going back to how I opened up this story, and why I was inspired to go there, was these influencers that I followed, is they kind of ruined it. And it's really, really sad that they are the ones who inspired people like me to go and visit. But through that inspiration, there's also been overdevelopment. And I was watching a documentary on Bali, and they're in the overdevelopment situation, and excuse me, and the disenfranchisement of the locals there. and the overdevelopment from what I've seen from this documentary is really destroying the nature there, and they are fighting against it like the locals that is are fighting against it like crazy. And you see it like every nook and cranny, crook and corner that you go to, there's somebody building a house, a villa, an Airbnb, and that whole thinking of, oh, I'm gonna go to this country and live a better life for cheaper. Our villa was, oh my gosh, I think, let me see if I could. I think it was, yeah, I think it was $3,000 for a week, almost certain. And I could tell you, like, it was nice. It was nice, but it wasn't. I'm gonna try and bring it up. Oh, it's not giving me the price here. But yeah, I think our villa was like, I'm almost certain it was, if it's not $3,000, it's close to $3,000 um for the week. That ain't no third world price, not to me. Not to me. And it wasn't, again, it wasn't like this. Oh, hold on, let me see if I can check the price right here. Um, it was okay. You know what I'm saying? Man, maybe it wasn't 3,000. It's saying 185 a night. I don't know if that's March. I feel like it was a few $1,000s. I'll double check that. But my point is, it wasn't cheap. You know what I'm saying? And so that bird is flown away. You know, it's gone. Um, but again, I don't want to. I'm not disencouraging anybody not to go there and not to visit. I don't think the way I describe my experience in Seminyak, you know, it kind of is what it is. And if like that's what you're looking for, and I think if you're a young person like looking to party like every single night and go out and send it, so to speak, I mean, yeah, perhaps maybe Seminyak and you want to be in the mix, you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's for you. But for me, no, I would have rather been in, you know, the rice field somewhere, a little calm, chill, that sort of thing. But this was not for me. I will go back to Indonesia, but I don't think I'm going to go back to Bali. And I think I missed the boat on it. And in respect to like Jamaica, man, and especially Negril, like we don't want that. Trust me, we don't want this to be over westernized. We don't want to lose our identity and who we are. And I feel, especially in the area that we stayed in, it's just like I just didn't feel like I walked away with like learning culture or anything like that. We did a day tour to Ubud, which was the best, which is the highlight of the trip. And we went to this coffee farm and we went to these rice fields. And that was dope. That was cool. But I mean, this thing is just overhyped on Instagram, and it's just like it's just kind of not the way that it has been portrayed in terms of like what my experience is. And I know like a lot of people who speak like I speak, they get so much hate online. But I'm sorry, like this is just like my experience, and I was so ready to love this place. I really was, and I'm not a naive person, like in terms of not having a lot of travel experience. I've been to many, many different countries, and I've been fortunate enough to go to many different countries and not just go there for a day, but like have extended stay in different countries. So, you know, I think I have a different perspective of trying to appreciate the country and the people and the culture, and just didn't get that feeling, unfortunately. So anyway, that's Bali. And you know, look out for the vlog that's coming out with that, and should be fun. I'm looking forward to continuing to edit with that. Next country. So the other thing with the travel was funny, not funny, but we were so stupid in not knowing that we needed visas for Vietnam, and we found out happenstance that we needed, like when my friend was checking in to his flight to, I don't know, I guess it was JFK, New York. Anyway, they asked him, hey, do you have your visa for Vietnam? We are like, what visa? And when we were in Seoul, that's what it was. And when we were in Seoul, and we're like, what visa? And we went JFK, Seoul to Bali, and we filled out our visa very, very late. And unfortunately, we had our tickets from Bali to Hanoi, Vietnam, and we had it on a specific date. We were in Bali for 1 week, and the day before, no, the day of we were supposed to be flying out, we still didn't have our visa. So we woke up that morning hoping that we at this point we had applied for our visa, and they told us it takes 3 days, 5 day, 3 to 5 day business days to get your visa. We were hoping we'd get lucky to get our visa. And the day that we woke up to fly to Hanoi, we still didn't have our visas. And so we are like, oh, what are we gonna do? Because even thinking like initially we were like, worst case, we spend a few more days in Bali. Nobody wanted to stay any more days in Bali. Like if we could have left earlier, we would have left earlier. Honestly, that's how we all felt. Like again, this is not just me. This was my friends as well. And so anyway, we're like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? And we just started looking at flights. This is like literally the morning of at breakfast, and we're like, all right, let's go to we. Long story short, we ended up going to Bangkok. We were just like, all right, let's go to Bangkok. We found flights that day. We were in the morning. We switched our flights. Shout out to Viet Air. And we were able to switch our flights. I think we paid a difference of $8. And we went to Thailand. And so we had, no matter what, we had to go to Hanoi because both of our flights were exiting Hanoi. My friend Jason was going to New York and I was going to Seoul. And so we got the flights, went to Bangkok, and we both were in Bangkok in 2018. And so it was great. It was like going home. It was so much like just chill, like super chill. Like there's also like a little bit of a pretentiousness to Bali, my opinion. Like that's the way I felt. And the pretentiousness that I felt wasn't from the local people. It was from everybody else. Whether we went to the day club, whether we went to a nightclub, going for breakfast, there was just like, what is this? And I feel like Thailand is just like so much more down to earth, very just down to earth. And I just appreciated that, just more just real, if you will. And so great time in Thailand. Unfortunately, my friend, he had to work. He was working on East Coast time. He was working 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And so, and then he needed to get some sleep. So I was like on my own for the most part, I got a few runs in. I kind of used Bangkok to just kind of rest. But you know what? The other thing is kind of going back to like what I was saying before about everything getting so much more expensive. Yes, Bangkok is absolutely cheaper than New York, no questions asked. But it was still expensive. It's not this thing. And I was like, and it was just like one of those eye-opening things, like the world is just going in the direction of just like everything getting more and more expensive. And it wasn't this like cheap place. Like it wasn't like pennies on the dollar that it used to be. Granted, there were certain things like public transportation was cheap. Taxis were cheap, like far, far, far cheaper. For sure. You get more for your buck on that. But accommodations were kind of the same. You're paying like, the hotel, and not to say nothing, but you want to stay in somewhere comfortable. So you're going to be paying like $150. It's not like you're going to go to a hotel, in a 5-star hotel, and you're going to pay $40 or $60. Like I think those days are gone. I didn't see that. And yeah, Thailand was more of like I would say like a resting place more than anything else. Like I said, I got a couple of runs in, explored the city a little bit. I was trying to meet up with my NBA friends, but didn't meet up with them. I went out a couple of times with Jason, who was there with me. He was working the 9 to 5, but it was cool. Like you'll see in the video when I put it out. And then we moved on to Vietnam, which for me was absolutely the highlight of the trip. Unfortunately, we got our visas and we were able to fly out, but there was a slight mistake with Jason's visa, and he had to stay an extra night in Thailand. I had to leave him, and I went to Hanoi by myself, and he had to get an emergency visa after all of this. And so he met me the next day. So I did a night by myself in Vietnam. What a special place. What a special, special place. Unfortunately, I only had 3 days, called 3.5 days, 4 days. And it was just it's such a beautiful country, beautiful people, like so nice. And just like a different world, different culture. Like just some highlights for me was just like one thing that I remember was just like everybody sitting on the streets, having their meals, but it was like little kid chairs. I don't know how to speak. Like it was very, very, very low to the ground. I mean, I'm talking about like Fisher Price seats, but that's where like almost everywhere until you got to like the touristy areas, but everywhere was like that. You can get like a full meal. I think it was like I want to say like 100 Vietnamese dollars. It was like $2. $2 like you're full. You're full. You're full. I think it was like $2, maybe less than that for like a full meal on the street. And it was safe. Like you didn't get sick. You didn't get sick or anything like that. Um, I also thought it was very much down to earth. I met a ton of expats there. I didn't know this, but I went to an expat bar and met tons and tons of expats who call Vietnam their home. And they were just also so down to earth, so welcoming, and just really easy to talk to. And like you juxtaposing this to like Bali, like nobody wanted to talk to you there. And I don't know, like it's crazy. It's so crazy. It was just like we all found it hard to meet people. Like there was no Americans in Bali. Sorry to go back to Bali, but there's no Americans in Bali, which is fine. You know, I have no problem with that. And there was like no black people either. That's so funny. The only black American that I knew that we saw in Bali, I knew him. We just ran into him. It was just like my friend that through a friend, we became friends from the dating show that I did. And the most random thing, it was like he's like, yo, what are you doing here? And anyway, and then we just started hanging out. And it was just like so crazy. And I understand why Americans don't go there. It's like it's so far. It's so far. And like even when we met, like say everybody you meet is going to be Australian or Russian, but everybody we met, they were just like Americans. Like yeah, that's so far. It's so far. And because they just didn't meet. You just don't come across Americans, which was fine. Um, so yeah, like it was just like even just like talking to people, like I don't know, like I don't know where that comes from, but I just felt like the tourists there were just like very pretentious. I don't know. That was just my experience or my friend's experience. But then you go to Hanoi, and it's like everybody wants to meet you. You know, everybody wants to have a conversation with you, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of black people there either. But it was just a curiosity, you know, more than anything else. Like, oh, where are you guys from? What are you doing here? Kind of thing. And I didn't take it anyway. It's like I met some really really cool people, and I was so happy to engage with them, and they were just super forthcoming, and very very different experience than Bali. And then we went on this. I should know the name of this, but we went on this boat tour on our last day, and so beautiful. I can't wait for you guys to see these pictures and these videos. Just absolutely gorgeous. The one thing about Vietnam is like I wanted to learn more about the war, the Vietnam War, from their perspective, and you know, from their museums and from their historians, because I know I have my American education, and that's all I know. I haven't really looked into Vietnam outside of that, and so I'd be very very curious to understand their perspective, and just didn't have time to go to any museum, but I'm definitely going to be going back, and I just want to learn from their perspective, and I wanted to do that because I remember like the first time like the first Euro trip that I did, and I did it with my best friend Jason in 2016. And I remember we went to a bunch of museums and war museums, and I was just like blown away, so blown away by the perspective of the way that they saw the war and what I learned from the European side. And I also got the same feeling when I went to Hungary, and I think 2014, and I went to a war museum and like again hearing about World War II from their perspective is just it's so incredible, so incredible. So I'm just so interested in learning and hearing about what they think, how they perceive, how they teach it to their students to be in the Vietnam War, and I'll get there. I'll get there at some point. So that's one thing that I feel like I missed out on in a big way. The negative thing about Vietnam, and I also say this about Thailand as well, is the pollution is crazy. Like Vietnam, unfortunately, is like when you come out, when I'm like, look out your window, or when you come out your hotel, you're walking around. I thought it was overcast. I thought it was. I was like, man, they got overcast every day here. It's pollution. It's pollute. Like it is that thick. I was like, this is insane. Same thing with Thailand. You could see, especially at night, you can like when you're looking at if you're looking at a light on a building in the distance, you just see the haze of pollution just over the city in Bangkok. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like really, really bad. The other thing, I don't know, you think of positive going back to Vietnam, positive or negative is the traffic. I didn't, and it's not even traffic, it's just the way that they drive. Like we were with a local and they were telling us like we were just trying to cross the street and it is just literally it's chaos. I loved it. I mean, I tell you, I loved it. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. This is crazy. And they were like, there are no rules, and you just got to just kind of just go. And so that was kind of a bit of a negative with it. I wouldn't even say negative. It just I thought it was cool. I was about it. I was for it 100%. So that's kind of Vietnam, and then from Vietnam, I went to Seoul to visit my cousin. She's a teacher out there. She's been living there for like 2 years. She's my baby cousin, but she's a very much a grown woman living on the other side of the world by herself. And I'm so happy I was able to spend. I think we spent like 3 days together. And she came and she stayed at my hotel for a couple of days, and we explored the city together, showed me around, and then I got to see where she lived and where she works, which is awesome. So it was amazing trip overall. Love Seoul. Like I said before, it's a really really built up ultra modern city, and more great people, great food. We went to my brother's friend that he did a classmate he did business school with. He lives out there, so I met up with him. Shout out to Sam. Thank you so much for taking a day to show us around. So he took us to this Korean meat market, and you go to the meat market, you choose all these different cuts, and Korean beef. Oh my gosh. Oh my, like they have their own wagyu. There's another word that they use for it. Phenomenal, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Went to this meat market. We go choose our different meats. Then they take us up to their restaurant. And I don't know if you have ever had Korean barbecue, but you take your meat. There's I don't even know what it's called, but basically you cook your own food in front of you, and you just take your little pieces of meat, you cook it on it to your liking. They have sauces and you dip. Beautiful, brilliant, amazing. Definitely the food highlight of the entire trip. And so that was great. So I really, really appreciate Sam for taking the time. And then yeah, after that, sadly said goodbye to my cousin, and then flew back to New York for a few days, and now I'm here. And that was my Southeast Asian trip. And thank you all for listening. I didn't even know everybody would be so interested. Like say that was it. It was a lot of fun. And let me get to some comments here before we. Damn, it's 4 o'clock. Before we close out, I had 2 hours. I was like, we're gonna stream for 2 hours, and that's it. But here we are. All right. Red Stripe for Life says, did you visit Gangnam or Adawan in Seoul, South Korea? That's the two districts that have mainly international students and have a vibrant nightlife. No, I didn't do any nightlife in Seoul. Did I? No. The only thing we did was like I just walked around with my cousin in their Times Square area. I don't know what it's called. And then that was the most nightlife that we had, and that was up until like maybe midnight, 12:30 or something like that. Donna Bryce, brat. This so I heard this term. Brat. Diet helps those cases. Bananas, applesauce, plain steamed rice, and dry toast. Yeah, I learned about this while I was in the belly of the beast, no pun intended. Patrice JA says, I can relate to this so much. Throp spent a month in Bali last year in February. Kangoo, Ubud, Seminyak, Kuta, Sanur, etc. And Bali belly was a killer indeed. Yeah, that joint is crazy, 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 crazy. I don't wish it on you. Don't wish it on you at all. But like I said, and we're exchanging notes here. That thing is not a joke. And some people like my friend Jazz, he had to take it. He went from Bali straight back to New York while me and Jason continued. And he had to take off of work. Like he was like sick. Like his stomach just didn't come back. I've heard of people being sick for a month, like just staying there. So it affects people in different ways, you know. Not for me. Don't want to do that again. Richard Lee says, welcome back, Throp. Thank you so much. Marva says, what about the rest of Westmoreland in terms of development? Oh, sorry. Going back to that discussion. I'm going to skip over that. Sorry, Marva. And then says, Throp, you are hilarious. It's funny now, but I'm sure it wasn't funny then. So your Facebook post and would think Bali was a good blast. No, it it was not funny in the situation, right? And I saw this Instagram, not a meme. It was like, you know, you could have 1,000 problems, but once you have a health problem, you have one problem. And like that's all I was thinking when I was laying in bed that night. I was like, this is my only problem. This is the only problem in the world. This is how do I get my stomach back to normal? It was horrendous. It was horrendous. Again, we had to take Pepto-Bismol like every day after that while we were in Bali just to keep. It was like you were scared. You know what I'm saying? Just like, yo, just in case. This is all preemptive. Yeah, so you never know how this stuff is going to affect you, like not long term, but like short to medium term. And then it says, thanks for sharing. I trust your opinion because I know you're an experienced traveler. Many people wouldn't think of these things. And two, like I think like when I see posts of people speaking like me and telling their experience of and it not being the greatest when they went to Bali, it's like people defend it because they're either from there, they're either Indonesian or perhaps they're an expat there, and I get it. You know, if somebody's going to come here and talk trash about Negril or trash about Jamaica, I'm gonna defend it, but I'm gonna defend something that's not true. Like if somebody comes here and says like the water's ugly, I'm like, get out of here. You know what I'm saying? But if somebody comes here and says, I went to such and such place and the service was horrible and the waitress was screw faced, I'm like, okay, that can happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna keep it a buck. But to say that everything that I just experienced is not true or I'm being unreasonable, come on. Like it just is what it is. And then when you look at, and I guess also too, it's like when you look at some possible solutions to address some of the challenges that I face, at least what I found to be challenges, it's hard to overcome. Like, how do you overcome development? How do you overcome like these Western societies coming in and essentially taking over this entire place? At least Seminyak that I stayed at. How do you even see that as a problem? Maybe it's not. Maybe that's what they want. But like me, as from my travel perspective and my lived experience, that's not something necessarily that I am going to be looking for. I'm going for, and like I said, I'll definitely go back to Indonesia. 100%, I'll go back. I don't think I'm going to go back to Bali. And there's not many. I can't think of a place that I've been to that I say like, yo, I'm not going back there. I can't. Like even I've been like Haiti. I want to go back to Haiti at some like obviously now it's very dangerous and certainly not a good idea, but it's a place I definitely want to go back to. Cuba, another place. I mean, what's bad to say about Cuba? Like, yeah, that place is wonderful. Every African nation that I've been to, 100% want to go back to each and every one of them. Every European country that I've been to, I want to go back. I want to further explore South America as well. I've only been to a handful of countries down there. Yeah, I can't. Bali, Bali, that's the only place I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Again, everybody's different. I'm not telling you all like, hey, don't go there or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. It's just not for me. Just not for my didn't didn't meet my expectations, and I had really high expectations. Like I said, I really wanted to love it. Who knows? Never say never. I'm not saying I never am going back to Bali, but it's not it's not something that is high on my list anymore. Red Stripe for Life says convenience stores in Bali or Seoul would mainly work in tourist areas. However, I think the vendors would protest against them. In South Korea, there are so many brands like CU 7-Eleven and G2 S25. Yeah, tons of 7-Elevens too in Seoul as well. Donna Bryce says, Throb, this is why I always disliked when they bent the rules in Negril, so Royalton and others can go higher buildings, more than 3 stories. I think the Maldives would be more your taste, not for my budget, but yes, probably American tends to rewrite history talking about Vietnam there and European World War II history. Yeah. And yeah, and it just tells me like, these rules are in place for a reason when it comes to these different building ordinances, and sometimes they may be cumbersome, but yeah, there are rules in place that honestly don't make sense, but nonetheless, they're there for a reason. And when you look at Bali, man, it's just like, man, that's crazy. Man, that's crazy. It's just like they really went after the money. They really, really went after the money. And again, these influencers did their job. They influenced. RJ Lure says, you should visit the Netherlands. I have. I absolutely have. I've only went to Amsterdam, and that's like one of the places that I could move to tomorrow. Absolutely loved Amsterdam. Loved the architecture. Absolutely loved the running. That was like one of my, I would say there and Wales are probably the best running in the entire world that I've done so far, without question. Just absolutely gorgeous. I also think I picked the right time of the year. The air was just so fresh and so unbelievably crisp. I think I was there in the fall, which is just like perfect. It's not too cold. It's obviously not hot. But it was just, especially early mornings, was just like super, super brisk. And I loved it. And it's just beautiful, especially like Amsterdam, running through the canals and everything. Once you got out the city was so crowded with people. But like once you got to the outskirts, I mean, you can just run forever. Just absolutely loved it. Spot on, spot on. Trudy says, thanks for the warm welcome, Throp. Love the live chat as always. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Sherry K says, so glad you are back. I truly miss Sundays with Throppers. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Donna Bryce says, we take for granted how safe food and water are in Jamaica for visitors. Yeah. I tell you, that's one thing you don't got to worry about. You can drink the tap water. We have good tap water. I always say the cruise ships come to Jamaica and fill up their cruise ship, their tanks here in Jamaica. And such a blessing, such a blessing. All our food you can eat. You don't got to worry about nothing. You're not going to get sick. We have good, very good high sanitation standards here as well. Like we really do. And, you can take that to the bank here in Jamaica. You really can. Justin D says, it's like people who come to Jamaica but never leave the resort. What's the point? Totally agree with that. It's like, yo, you got to get out. You got to get out. Ari back, real estate back office. Have you been to Bahamas? Yes, I have. And I could tell you when I went to, this is in my hospitality hotel days. I went for CHTA, which is the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association conference. First time I went there, and I was just like blown away by their development and just how nice their roads were. I was like, why don't we have this in Jamaica? Like beautiful roads, beautiful, beautiful paved roads. And the other thing was their retail shopping, specifically their luxury retail shopping. They had all the brands, Cartier, Louis, jewelry stores. I was like, man, again, why don't we have that here in Jamaica? And that was one of the things that stood out to me about the Bahamas, particularly the first time that I went there. Jay Fitz says, I love Amsterdam. They have some of the best coffee shops in the world. I'll leave that there. uh, Patrice J. says, the Netherlands is super flat. It is. And it's at sea level, obviously. So it was great. Just really great for my lungs and for my legs, for sure. Sherry K says, I love visiting Kenya and Jordan. Best vacations I've ever had. Wasn't in love with France, but got lost and no one could speak English with us. Oh no, oh no. Yeah, I've heard people have mixed feelings with France. And I've had like I have heard a lot of my friends go there and they've had like racist stuff happen to them and they'll never go back. I've been to France 3 times and nothing like that has happened to me. I loved it. I really, really, really enjoyed France. I guess some people it's like a hit or miss. And who's to say like I could go there and have a bad experience next time I go, but so far it's been great. Their food is good too. Great baked, I mean, crazy baked goods there as well. Great chocolate as well. Red Stripe for Life says, what is one common theme thing that you saw in these Asian countries that Jamaica can implement to improve? Great question. One thing that they could improve. That is a good question. I don't think there's one thing. I think there's a lot to be learned, right? And a lot of it comes down to culture, our way of life. But I don't know if I'd want this for Jamaica. So let's do this. I'll answer this in 2 ways. So I'll answer it in I'll answer it in what we can implement and also what I appreciate. So let's go with the latter first. And so what I appreciate about the Asian countries for sure that I visited is their calmness, really is their calmness and their approach, not just to tourists, but just to everybody and how they interact with one another. There's just like this overwhelming respect for everybody. And even and especially in Seoul, especially in Seoul, I forget what it's called, but they have this built-in innate respect for their elders, and their elders are like, and elders could be like a year older, 5 years older. And give you an example, like when I was going through, uh, when I was, oh no, I was going to, was I going to Seoul? I think I was going to Seoul, going through customs they have exit customs in Vietnam, and I there were these 2 young kids. They were probably like 8 and 10 or something like that, and they had and I know they were Korean. This is why I'm saying this, and they had let I think it was their mother go ahead of them, and they were trying to catch up to them, and they had cut me in line, and they couldn't speak English, and they wanted to go in front of me. I was like, oh, of course, go ahead. And then they just like I'm assuming they were saying thank you in their language, but they just like continuously bowing. But I know from their culture, I think they were bowing to say thank you for allowing me to allow them to go in front of me, but it was also a sign of respect to an elder, irrespective of me being older to them and of a different culture completely. And that's what that was. So that's one thing I definitely really appreciate about the culture. Just in general, this is like the calmness and just high level respect for elders and just other people in general. One thing that I could bring over here, I would say, I guess this is going along the discipline situation, is a culture situation, which is discipline. And I wish there was more discipline here. A respect for rules in general, generally speaking. That goes for rules standing in line, rules on the road, that sort of thing, and I wish that could be implemented here. And who knows, maybe it can at some point in time in the future. And yeah, I would love to see a lot of more infrastructure things here. Obviously, when I look at Vietnam, which is definitely, and I know I've been complaining about how expensive is everything is becoming globally. But when I look at Vietnam, extremely, extremely cheap, affordable. I spoke about the dollar, $2 full meal that you can get. That still remains true. But then you look at even like buying little trinkets, cell phone cases. These are like $2, $3, like very, very, very cheap. And I think two things allow that to happen, just from my very limited perspective, is that the manufacturing is over there on that side of the world. So that's obviously a huge, huge advantage in that regard. And then two, there is just crazy competition. There is just one store next to another store, next to another store, next to another store, all selling similar or same things. So they need to be able to compete. I'm sure they're competing on prices, they're competing on service experience, but there is tons and tons and tons of competition. So I would love to see more competition in Jamaica. I would love to see more competition in Negril. And I think we need that desperately. And that is going to elevate service. That is going to imagine we had a third phone company in Jamaica. What would that do for the consumer? Imagine we had another electricity company, another water. I don't know if I'm going to have a water company. It's a government situation, but you get what I'm saying. Imagine we had more restaurants. We had more companies that sold widgets or whatever. Pricing for consumers are inevitably going to go down. And so even more hotels, same thing, same thing. It's going to be all good for the consumer. And so I would love to see more competition here. And like kind of when I was going through the streets of Vietnam, and it's an extreme example. Trust me, very, very extreme example. I mean, it's literally store next to store next to store next to store, and everybody trying to get you to come in, not in an aggressive or harassing way, not at all. But nonetheless, it just opened my eyes to like we need competition. Thank you for the question. Let's keep rolling here. I am MJ876 says the times I visited Mexico, I was told not to drink the water. That's right. I went to Cartagena last year and I loved it. Didn't go to Cartagena. Everybody keeps telling me I gotta go there. Maybe at some point. Tanya says Vietnam is now on my destination list. Yeah, well worth it. You're gonna love it. I mean, you're gonna love it. I'm going back, 100%. JFit says the south of France, Nice, Monaco is much nicer than Paris, in my opinion. I haven't been, but I'm definitely going to check that out. Kuya Kedley says people call that illness Bali belly. I'm well aware. I am well aware. Ricardo, what's going on, man? Good to see you. I was told not to drink the water in Mexico as well. MJ76 says my brother went to Vietnam. He loved it. Highly recommend. Mike MVP says I'm Jamaican married to an Asian, and the respect is next level. Really, really is. Really is. It really is incredible. Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. What do you think about the Jamaicans war on the internet? FBAs versus Jamaica's war on the internet. What is that? Can you elaborate? Celia Burnett, what can you do for Jamaica that can help the people? I'm not sure what that question is. Maybe you guys are having a different conversation. Donna Bryce says solar power has become more and more affordable in Jamaica now. Travelers should consider it. We do have a small solar system here, but we have a 10,000 kilowatt system, but we need to expand that tremendously. I mean, we need to grow up by like 300-400% right now. All right, I think we are gonna wrap up there. Callison, last comment. Hey Throb, how are you, man? Seems like I've missed out on a few episodes. Not sure. I've been off for a few weeks now. Nope, I've been off. This is my first live stream of the new year, so you haven't missed much. I trust me, you haven't missed much. This is it. Jay Fitz says customer service in Asian countries is second to none. The best I've experienced. I agree. It's very different from Jamaica, right? And I guess I'll say that'll be like the last thing. Is like the hospitality is different. And me and my brother were having this discussion because he was in Seoul last year and we stayed in the same hotel. And the hotel that we stayed at, which was the Latte, stayed at the Latte Executive Tower, and so did he. And service is crazy, crazy. I mean, when I say they are at your beck and call, they're at your beck and call. They don't want you to lift a finger. When you go into the lobby, they just had people standing there, just ready for anything that you possibly could need. And they're bowing, they're asking you what you need. Can I help you? Phenomenal housekeeping, same thing. Just over the top, unbelievable, great service, right? Any question I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it's not gonna give you the same level, the hospitality that you get here in Jamaica, where you're gonna go somewhere. You're not gonna go to that hotel and feel like you're part of the family. It's just not the case. Beautiful, amazing hotel. Again, top-notch service. But then you come to a place like Travelers, where we're a family-owned hotel and we're a family-oriented hotel, and you're gonna come here and you're gonna develop a relationship with Romeo or Raken or at our front desk or the security guard. Like, and that is our competitive advantage, is that Jamaicans are, my opinion, I feel are very family oriented and naturally warm and welcoming. That is not something that you need to train. That is just how we are as a people. And like our hospitality, I would say, is more encouraging in showing off your personality and who you are. And I think that makes within the construct of the company culture, let's say, right? And every company culture is different across the hospitality sector. But I believe that is a huge competitive advantage as opposed to like going to even Japan. I felt the same way, like extremely high level of hospitality and service, but you're not gonna get the this yearning for developing a relationship with you. And uh I would say I don't want to use that. I was going to say an elevated level of genuineness, but there is a genuineness of like of a Raken or a Romeo or Janice or whoever, anybody's part of I'm saying specific names. Some of you may know who I'm talking about if you stay to Travelers, but they genuinely want to ensure that you have a good time. And there are just so many relationships that have, I'm sure that happens in South Korea at the hotel that I stayed at. I'm sure people coming back over and over, but there are these relationships, lifelong relationships that are developed in going to especially a small Jamaican hotel. And so that's the fundamental difference. Now, if there could be a melding of both of those coming together, I mean, I think that's where you get it. That's where you hit it. It really hit it on the head. And yeah, but good point. Well said, Jay Fitz. Well said, Jay Fitz. All right, all right. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up here, everyone. We've been gone for almost 3.5 hours. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to start off the new year the way that we have. I was gonna go for a run this evening, but I don't think I am. I'm going to chill. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Got a big week ahead here. So nice to see everybody. So nice of you all to join the first live stream of 2025. I hope your new year is starting off really, really fantastic. So far, so good for me. Content. We're gonna have a video come out this weekend. I don't know what it's gonna be, but we got a few. We got some podcasts that I already have lined up. We got some vlogs. We got some exciting content that's coming up. And as soon as I can talk about it and bring it to you all, I will. But the next 4 months are going to be crazy, like really, really cool. different types of content that you may all not be expecting, but I think and hope that you all will appreciate it. Shout outs to once again our channel members. Thank you so much. Shout outs to all the Patreons. You know, your support means the world to me. Could not be doing what I'm doing without support like yours. Wishing you all a great week ahead, and I will see you again, same time, same place next Sunday. Have a great week, everybody. See you soon. Peace.